Well, the birds are chirping, the flowers are blooming, and ESA season number 10 is back. Today we're going to be having ourselves some fantastic qualifiers with first stream of ESA season X. The big X has made its way through, and I'm going to be followed by none other than High Bear. And how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling absolutely grand. Looking forward to being here. Excited for a good stream, good couple of games to be covered in this first set of qualifiers. And yeah, I don't think there's anyone better to do it with, Puffo?
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure hearing that. Well, you do to talk about games, we talk about teams, so let's introduce them. Going into match number one, we're going to be having Crown Zero face off against MG Minions, and following MG Minions versus Sync, Crown Z versus Sync. So we're having three teams today. It's going to be Crown Zero, MG Minions, and Sync. All of those are going to be facing off so for some nasty points. Yet again, these are the second qualifiers. There are two extra ones after this, which are going to be played on Saturday and Sunday. But up until then, we have to watch some best of ones. And, well, Hi, Bear. We're also having to get into some maps today. And do you have any wishes or maybe even predictions with how this could go?
Ooh, maps that I enjoy a lot are maps like Labs, like Clubhouse, like Cafe, those maps where it
Oh,
really
yeah.
takes a lot of good, strong team play in order to be effective on those maps. As someone who's just a fan of good play in this game, I gotta say, I prefer the more strategic side of things, but I'm always game for a little bit of fast paced aggression on some of those other maps, like your borders.
Okay, okay, loving it. Yeah, a bit more run of the mill, but in the end, that's where teamwork thrives, right? So we do have match one going underway in any moment, and well, you called Nighthaven, and Nighthaven it delivers. That's going to be the first one. Crown Zero facing my MG Minions, and it's going to be on none other than Nighthaven, and I am ecstatic. Nighthaven, I feel like, is such a good mixture of mini maps. It brings the aesthetic of Main Breach from Clubhouse, then it has that roam potential from God knows what. And with it, it's just a good mix. It's one of the better additions, if you ask me personally. And I'm excited to see who's going to be taking out on top in match number one today.
Yeah, it's a really interesting map. It's definitely one of the newer maps in the pool, right? Only layers been added after it. But
Yeah.
despite that, it's a map that a lot of teams seem to have found a great deal of comfort on. It's a fan favorite. It's got that beautiful color palette. You got the whole ocean, the beaches, the sand, and that's just outside the map. Once you get inside, it's got some really nice flow where it's not necessarily easy for the attack to take map control, but it's possible. And at the same time, the defense can contest early space and then fall off in the mid round, late round, and then place site to be able to lock the attack out of the map. It's a very dynamic map with lots of potential to disrupt what your opponents are doing, whether you're on the attack or on the defense. And because of that, it leads to being a very interesting map, but also a relatively well balanced map. It never really feels like one side has a convincing advantage. It's just battles over and over again and playing around your team in order to be as effective as possible in fighting for map control, fighting for picks, and fighting for that objective.
And that's what makes the first half of every single match on Nighthaven so interesting. It comes out to be a bit more balanced, but if anyone can really capture upon that 4-2-5-1 first half essence, they've got themselves a good deal going into the second. They also have kind of, you get warmed up to the enemies. They know how to play against them. They know the play style. So it's going to be a bit interesting to see how it all turns out. But it's even going to be more interesting to see when we get to the bans. I mean, the bans on this map, normally they stick around that Maverick to Burrow combination. Like back in the old day, you had Thatcher and Cade to counteract each other, and that's just what that aspect brings out. So I'm wondering to see those. Maybe some Blackbeard band shields are still quite a threat in Rainbow Six Siege as of current, and I'm really excited to see them. And Hyper, if you were to put your money on an operator to be banned, or let's just say a 4 for 4, let's go for a bingo right now. Who would you pick?
I mean, it's a really tough call. Siege is in a spot right now where there's so many powerful operators. There's not necessarily any one operator that is miles beyond the others. There's powerful operators, but I wouldn't really say overpowered operators. One operator that jumps to mind is the Blackbeard, since his rework is just very difficult for teams to deal with. He's able to take space the same way a Montang is, but take entry engagements the same way you might expect your Ashe player or your Zofia player to do. Plus, having the nades on side makes it so that he can really disrupt the positions which are being played by the defenders. I imagine we'll see a Blackbeard being taken off the board. For the other attacking band, do you have any idea who you think that second one would be other than the Blackbeard?
I'm thinking Maverick. I'm thinking
I'm
full
thinking
on
Mav.
Maverick. Maverick on main breach, be it top, be it bottom. He just denies it. There is nothing that can stop him. The Tubarão is a great counter for like Thermite, Ace, Hibana, you know, the people who actually have to get to work and detonate some sort of explosive. But no, with the Maverick, you put that flamethrower in your hand and you just go to town making holes, making cutoff on the rotation, and he's a beautiful pick for it. And that's when it comes to defense. I think defense is going to be having some sort of similar counter, either the Tubarão or maybe even the Azami. I feel like Azami is definitely one of those operators that isn't miles beyond, but it's definitely one of the four deadly horsemen of the apocalypse when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege terms, and definitely could be considered, but there's more picks. You have Valkyrie, Mira. There's a huge pool, but hopefully we get all of them right.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there is so many of those powerful ops that can really be used to disrupt what's going on inside the round. I think of Valkyrie and Mira, both operators on this map in particular, who can find massive impact. Valkyrie putting cameras on the floor above where is being defended so that players on the defense can rotate down below and use their C4s to find themselves impact, find openers, or deny plant in the late round. Mira is the same, creating power positions, having that C4 to disrupt entries. There's just a lot of creative stuff you can do with this map. And I truly think that's a big part of why it's become such a fan favorite.
Without a doubt. Hopefully later on we're going to be seeing maybe a bit less common picks. Maybe we're going to be seeing more run-of-the-mill. I don't know. Match 2 and Match 3 are going to be all the way down into the future, but we're currently at the present, and let's see what time will tell as we head into none other than Match 1. Crown Zero facing MG Minions. Mentioned before, but mentioned again and many more times as both of these teams look to maybe claim out the first victory of all best of ones today, and following up with a second one later down the line, as these are the qualifiers, and with it, we start off with the band, so let's see how close to the predictions we were, High Bear.
I'm feeling optimistic. I think I may have made the right call here. And ooh, right off the bat, it looks like you nailed that first one. Maverick taken off the board by Crown Zero. We'll see who they follow up with. Again, I was talking about the Blackbeard here, and then on the defense, I think probably the Mira. Mira is a very popular one to get rid of, and I wouldn't be surprised, given the Maverick ban, to see a little bit of wall denial taken off the board, because without the Maverick, obviously it becomes much more difficult to open up those walls. Monty instead of the Blackbeard, still a really strong op, and the same sort of idea. Operators that can take map control for free, who you can't stop from just walking at you. So Monty being removed obviously creates a lot more potential for the attackers, or for the defenders, to deny the space that the attack wants to take.
I think Monty just brings that extra coziness, right? With the Blackbeard, you have to take a bit more initiative. You have to peek out, swing. Maybe you check out a window with your shield, and then just check back in with the gun up ready and gunning. And that's the issue, right? They expect you, they headshot you. It's an easy game. With Monty, you don't need to do that. You are a walking mountain. That's what the name indicates in the first place, and that's why he brings out that extra coziness. Even when you're pushing up rafters, there's not much that can stop you. With Blackbeard, you can go for the footsies, you can give him a pedicure, you can even try getting some explosives in. The Monty, he is a 180 blockage, a full-on barricade on legs, and that's what makes him so strong. So honestly, I'm not too surprised by that. The Fenrir and Mira coming out later on as well. Gonna be fantastic to see. Mira, you mentioned it, she is really strong on this map. The amount of lineup she can get with those windows, and the amount of fear, that fear factor the Mira puts up, is absolutely astonishing.
One thing that does really surprise me is the fact that we didn't see any wall denial removed. Maverick's off the board, but there's still Bandit, Cade, and Tubarão, and look at what MG minions are running. All three of them being brought along for this top floor site. It's going to be a miracle if Crown Zero are able to open up any of the walls. They do switch into the Thatcher, thank goodness, because if not, I would have been very worried about them having any chance of even beginning to approach the site. But at the same time, it's still going to be incredibly difficult, especially if the MG minions are able to play around that Tubarão to deny the initial EMPs.
Definitely. Now we head into round number 1. We're going to be seeing a bit of a lineup from the defense, like you mentioned. There is no walls to be opened as long as all of these characters stay in picks, stay alive, and don't play greedy. Because one of the sins definitely can get exposed and punished off of if Crown Zero plays their cards correctly. Well, going off of the very beginning, we can take a look at their picks as well. The Deimos from below is going to be an absolute nuisance, and we don't necessarily have a dedicated roamer. Definitely the Valkyrie is going to be trying to lurk around, trying to punish yet again, but the rest of the operators is where it comes into play, and we're going to be taking a bit more soft action in the very early round, and with it, we talk about the Devil, which is going to be that Valkyrie getting taken off as the first pick.
Yeah, speaking of, she's picked off really early. And I mean, if you're MG minions, that definitely sucks, but I really don't think it's the end of the world. Again, your site presence is so strong. You have things to keep the walls closed. And even though you've lost that vertical presence, they've still got the Cade Claws. They've still got the Bandit to rotate in and assist with the trick. And then even once you get that IT breach open, they can just sit the Clash, park her right there in that IT breach, and just forget about it. You don't have to worry about it. They can't push in, because if they try and push in, they're slowed down by her in the middle of that breach. But look at this. We do see one player, Future, trying to creep up these garage stairs, runs into some barbed wire, position given away, and is forced to take out the nade, go give it a toss and see if he can get himself into a better position as he pushes up these rafters. But it doesn't look like he's aware of the second player inside of IT. And what they can do is they can just simply press this player, get ready to take a fight on that rafters aggression. But they decide not to, giving up some space. And instead we see the Thermite from down below, I believe, through the floor, taking out Interlude inside of IT. My goodness.
Ground Zero aren't going to be stopping, but MG Minions don't back off of a fight, even though they're shut down quickly, and just like that, in a matter of seconds, 3 for 1, and the deal is set. Ground Zero have found themselves the first opening round and a dominant one at that. It went from 0 to 100. Well, I loved how MG Minions, they returned for 1. They were playing off of the Clash and really trying to block out. But the exchange with the Clash and Monty and Shield operators in general is that you lose out on that frag potential, right? You can't just pull out your gun and start shooting as you wish. You have to put the shield on the back, put it in a wardrobe, leave it to be, and then come back to the gun, which takes a while, especially when it's max pressure, max action, and there's just everything unfolding right in front of your very eyes. And I'm still surprised that MG Minions let Garage or the entirety of Rafters just be taken over so easily. You have a lot of picks here open, especially the Zami. You could play off of her. Try even going in or leaning in towards the fact that you could play off of the Clash, because the second you let go of Rafters, IT is gone, and that breach denial has absolutely no use.
Yeah, again, I think you hit the nail on its head right there. What happened with Rafters? How was IQ able to just face check, walk her way up the garage stairs without having to worry about somebody peeking her from the super favored angle top rafters? I mean, I get that Ground Zero is applying pressure in towards that top warehouse door, but at the same time, it feels like you need to be just a little bit more aware of that gap. She almost manages to pick off a couple of players with their backs turned inside of IT. Luckily for MG Minions, they do get away, but at that point, the ground is lost. Like you're saying, you cannot continue to contest that main IT breach once you've lost control of rafters, and they just give it up for free. So this round, we need to see a little bit better out of Ground Zero, and hopefully they're able to start things off a little stronger, and they do with the C4 spawn peek out that electrical window. Nice work, and even worse, it's the Thatcher taking off the board. Good luck opening up those walls now, boys.
Unless you get Rafters again by some sort of natural 20, you are not finding that success yet again, Ground Zero. MG Minions, please learn from your mistake. Not only have you found the opening break, which normally I would say it's a slap on the wrist, if it were something like an IQ, if it was something like a Flores. But the fact that now the Cade and Tubarao hold such an overstep over your entire Thermite, and the fact that you just continue it down the line with a second as well, MG Minions don't let go of the steam, and they have found that 3v5, just looking to hold on to it for as long as they can. Don't play the game of greed. Let Ground Zero come to you, into your guns, play Crossfires, and you've got a round in for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, terrible start here for Ground Zero. Down 2 is bad, obviously, but those are 2 important operators. Now, you won't be able to spot up those Val cams, and you won't be able to open up the breach. Some desperation, I think, out of the attacking side as Thermite starts to walk forward towards this Raptor door, and surprisingly, it looks like MG Minions are giving it up. It doesn't seem like it's going to matter, though, as Dispy is taken out, walking up those Raptor stairs. They tried it last round, and it worked great for them. This time, no dice.
No dice trying to roll. There comes the C4 and a second one just to finish the job. Oh, poor Dipsy had nothing to say for it. And now it's only down for 1 minute for Ground Zero to play with the Deimos, which is so awkward. The Deimos is so great for 1v1s or if you have some sort of man count above the defense, right? But when you're playing in the 2v5 and everyone essentially knows where you are, you're going to have to rely on that Thermite to find a triple kill right after this one to get you back in the lead. No bullets, time running low, grenades popping out, and that's going to be none other than the GCSG still finding some extra bullets for 1, and the second one for Tubarao, as now it's a return and an equalization very early on.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we would have expected in the first round. I think if the first pick hadn't gone over to Ground Zero, it would have been that sort of dominant round because the setup out of Ground Zero, or the setup out of MG Minions is just really strong on this site. And because of the bans, the way they played out, you really expect them to be able to keep site secure, to keep the attack kind of locked outside. So if they're able to play around their utility instead of giving up early fights, I kind of expect this will be a relatively defensive-sided Nighthaven. We'll have to see how that goes going into the other sites, but even on these basement bomb sites, having the Bandit up, having the Tubberau up, even though they're not playing him, can really serve to stall out an attacking lineup. This round, they're looking to bring along a little bit more of what it looks like to be a roam setup. Having the Vigil on side, having the Legion to kind of contest space early on, play a little bit more off-site. It seems to be the strategy that this defensive lineup is leaning into. Less so than the heavy anchor that we saw in the previous couple rounds.
Well, I'm terrified about this Valkyrie. Yet again, this is a very vertical site. As mentioned, we see the Ram right now on Crown Zero. Hopefully you don't lose it out on like the Thatcher priorly to it. But the C4s here, I want to make sure that MG minions here do not put them to waste. A C4 here could completely change the result, even from a 2v5 that, you know, you were having earlier. If you're in that position right now, booms are going to be the way to go. Now, verticality needs to be kept. MG minions need to hold down this entire top floor, or at least try to stall it out to the point where Crown Zero don't feel comfortable going there, or don't feel comfortable just taking their sweet, precious time because you wasted it. So, with it, they're going to be going top to bottom as usual, as you do, as an attacker should. You have the ace, which is going to be great if you do end up going for those late breaches, but I don't think that's going to be as major as that Blackbeard that is not banned. And Dipsy right now, he has not been liking the results of these rounds. He's been victimized time after time again, and he's ready to get some kills in, but he's the first one to have a couple of drops of blood. Some impacts coming out, damaging for an extra bit. Not going to be too major, but the defenders are slowly starting to get bunched up, and this is where that sandwich comes in.
Some high value from those impacts out of B-Spend. Obviously, the Blackbeard is your spearhead on this attack. That's the operator who's designed to take space, and despite the fact that he's a little bit lower on HP, he's not the one who's actually taking those first couple of fights. Swinging up that Forks Hall, hitting the window. We see the defense getting active and everywhere, taking fights all around the map. The entry here completely shut down out of Crown Zero. Now the defense can simply fall back to site and play their crossfires going into that late round because of the fact that they have such an overwhelming advantage. That's the point of this roam. You fight early on. If you're able to win some fights, if you're able to kind of like take the numbers into your favor, then you can just simply fall back, give some space, and leave these remaining players just grasping at straws trying to battle back. And you see, Fleeks doesn't have a clue what's going on. He thinks there's people upstairs. He's pre-firing angles. They're in the basement. They've given it up. They're playing smart, and they're playing to win.
That is great to see. No bodies being dropped. No one's giving off easy and free kills. And Crown Zero are just left wondering, how do we sustain this?
He doesn't know.
Oh, God. There's the Legion. David, he even backs up. He's terrified, but it's found. Dipsy gets one. One more for the equal man count. And now Crown Zero, although, you know, just like previously, I would love to say they have a chance, and I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt. But with how much ground they have, with how much utility they've cleared on the defensive, they clearly have nothing on them. Goyos are still around, lurking, ready to just deny you of any type of entry. Not a single one has been popped, I believe. And with it, there's no time left. I mean, Crown Zero are just going to be walking into their huge trap. And with it, Fleek actually finds it. This is interesting, getting a bit too close for comfort. Spurn's still sticking around. Does the Bandit find it? Finds the initiative, doesn't get any bullets in. Only one is needed for Dipsy, trying to be a bit more secretive. The plan's going down now, and no one's contesting it. It isn't cancelled. That's one from Dipsy, the double and twist. Denies the C4. It's a down nonetheless, down to a 1v1 and a double down. Oh, there's no backing off for this Bandit. Pulls out the pistol and finishes the job. The defense are going to be keeping it in their lead.
Defenders disabled the diffuser.
What did I just watch? That felt like 3 rounds in one. We saw first a failed entry, and then suddenly a battle back from a man disadvantage, and it still looked unwinnable.
And Crown Zero are just left wondering, how do we sustain this?
Doesn't know.
Oh, God, there's the Legion. David, he even backs up. He's terrified, but it's found.
Because of that,
Dipsy gets one.
Zero are able to get inside of sight, and the only thing that could possibly stop Plant was that C4 that was in the pocket of the Bandit. But despite that C4 being tossed out, we see an excellent flank from the Blackbeard of Dipsy. He manages to clear the C4, but he doesn't have the cover. Keeps his gun ADS, keeps his gun up, and is able to be taken down by the Bandit swinging him. And then the last player remaining is the Ace, just stuck, sitting in a corner, waiting to be pre-fired as the swing comes through. MG minions, though. little bit of a toss. I feel like they could have played that a teensy bit better. I kind of had like a premonition there as Blackbeard was getting ready to burst through that freezer wall. Yeah, just kind of like tossing your man advantage. Being in a 4v2 means you just need to give up space, play your crossfires, and force the attack to go for that plant. And we don't see them do that. They kind of go for theirs. They take fights, and they are punished for it. It comes down to a 1v2 clutch, which excellent job winning that, but it's not necessarily sustainable. And I want to see some better late round play out of them going forward.
We shouldn't get to those points in the first place. I mean, we had the Legion upstairs completely on his own, being cornered out by a Blackbeard, going into a 1v1 for no reason. I feel like MG Minions play their cards a bit too, I would say, a bit too greedy. They were definitely up to it, and as much as we can still say, you know, it's their round, it doesn't matter, hopefully we don't get to see it again, and hopefully that's not going to be a bearer of bad news. But as we talk about it, Crown Zero right now, Yank Blitz, everything ready to flash. We have the Candelas going out, the players hopping in, windows are absolutely included, and yes they are, coming into sight, and that's the ace. Do they know about it? The first one for Brava, going to be finding some utilization off of that gun and putting bullets to work. A second one as well, the Nook sneaking up behind, and Shay out there to retaliate, but you're still one behind. He gets down in the next second. It's a 2-4, and MG Minions have found themselves in a struggle, backed up into a corner, and in none other than the post-plant situation.
We see these last couple of players working their way down the stairs, trying to take some fights, trying to battle back, but despite the fact that Interlude managed to find one, he's stuck on these stairs, his position known, and Hookah in the hallway posts up, holds the angle, and is able to shut him down. Some excellent rush play out of the attack from that side of that round. That was lovely.
Oh, that was just chef's kiss. I could not complain more. The fact that Crown Zero went from being a bit more of a passive team, they think things very slowly. They try to get the main objective, but not too aggressively, right? Because we saw in round number 3 that MG Minions, they were playing aggressive. They took up any gunfight, and Crown Zero just fell for it. So they switched it up. You saw, they say, we're not just going to be sitting by. This time, we're going all out. We're going to be catching them off guard. And if they're now ready to check us in this position and make sure that these windows are covered, we're going to be there to punish. And that was a gamble worth taking. They took home the jackpot, and now it's 2-2. That's so great because Crown Zero now, they could get that 3. The first one to get the 3 right now is going to be looking golden, because if you can advance that 4-2 first half, like I say, I feel like it's such a comfort zone going into the second half, because you have 2 lifelines, right? Even if you make mistakes, not only can you adapt later on, but at the same time, you can really consider the fact that you don't need to be stressing out. You're not the one that's on the losing side.
The location of a bomb.
You talked a second there about Crown Zero taking a bit of a gamble. I mean, it is a little bit of a gamble always to go for a rush play like that, but that was, I just want to talk a little bit about the rush play itself. That was well rehearsed, practiced, and I don't necessarily think it's as much of a risk as it might have seemed. Those players had a bait set up with the Ying outside of that storage window, leading the defense, leaving MG Minions to believe that the rush was going to be coming in through storage. But in fact, everyone on the attack is outside of Forks, and they're routing in through that window, in through Forks, up that top cargo stairs, and through the rotate to be able to get inside of command room was not at all accounted for by MG Minions on the defense. And it was, what we see is just a lovely rush that they have no answer for, and bomb going down in a massively advantaged position. And yeah, going into this round though, we do see a little bit of a worse start for Crown Zero. Some bandit tricks going off, keeping that control, or that connector wall completely closed. He managed to get both sets of ace charges, actually all 3 sets of ace charges, as they were all tossed down on that wall, plus the opener for Interlude as he's peeked in that window. I mean, this is a much worse start for Crown Zero, just right off rip.
Interlude has always been the one to step up to the task. Maybe he's the Kate, maybe he's the supposed hard support when it comes to the team, but he can throw punches, and he'd been doing so quite nicely. 5-3. Definitely one of the leading players besides Spec. Now we go into it. The Salmos weren't enough, so the exothermic, one big hole coming right up. But to counter it out, we do have the Tubarao coming in. It's going to get destroyed, and with it, you have only one more charge and one more chance to go at it. The problem here is the fact that you've wasted so much time. A minute and 20 right now, you're going to need to start pushing in a bit more cautiously. And unless you want to start cutting corners, hopefully you have the same setup you did when that rush was seen previous round. Now we go into it a bit more slow. Yet again, Barricade going to be there to stop us. And as you break it down, you give off the information that there's going to be a second push coming out from the back. Now the X are going up. That's the last chance. Raptor's going to be pushed. And now it's all up to footing of MG Minions. Do they step into Crown Zero's guns, or do they play their cards correctly and just hold back, nicely wait, like they always should? Well, we're about to find out any second.
All 5 hard breaches destroyed, no walls open. So this is going to be an almost impossible execute for Crown Zero. They go for a desperation play, jumping in through that garage window, walking in through top water, but it isn't going to be enough. Slowed by the clash, position known. We've seen Fleeks trying to get aggressive here, pulls the pistol up, but he isn't able to find anything, and now it's just down to Locky. And while he does manage to find one down onto Shaya, you've got to imagine that this is just too much for him to do. Face down by the clash, who's now rotated. They're going to be able to pick up Shaya. He decides to rotate off, pick up the position of his fallen teammates in towards this upper garage rafters. He is peaked. Managed to find him, but only 10 seconds remaining. There is not enough time left in this round, and he's shut down by David Speckham.
Oh, that clash must be so annoying to play against. Crown Zero are definitely not happy about it, but MG Minions thriving off of a shield on the defense. Would have been a possible ban, but I don't think it's very, very common to see the clash being on the ban side of things. And that's what I love about teams utilizing the most they can, really trying to use the powerhouses. And you basically have 4 of them on the defense right now. The Cade, the Tubarão, the Clash, and the Valkyrie. All extremely strong operators, and the Bandit there just because extra wall denial never hurts. And we saw it being played so nicely there with the main breach, where it got rid of all the Selmas and just continued to deny any breach from coming through. And that's what lovely to see. But Crown Zero right now, are you going to be having a draw going into the first? Is that 3-3 through, or maybe it's going to be 4-2 from MG Minions? They're back downstairs. We saw a very close round last time around when it came down to it. And MG Minions, I think they're still going to be playing the verticals because Sven right now is on that Baji and ready to pack a punch. But how Crown Zero are going to deny those early 3 picks from coming out is only up to question.
Yeah, so last time they attacked this site, they were shut down completely as they attempted to enter the map. We saw Dipsy trying to get aggressive in towards lower garage. I wonder if it might be more worth it to rotate that Blackbeard over to a spot where he can actually entry without having to worry about the crossfire between Forks Hall and Upper Rafters, where the defenders of MG Minions were playing. And it looks like that is something they're going to go for as Dipsy starts to make his way over towards these outside rafters stairs. I imagine, yeah, they will have learned from their mistakes. They won't be suffering quite the same fate as last time as they start to apply pressure in towards upper water as opposed to that IT breach. Position spotted by the Vigil and the wall bang by Loki for an opener off his own drone, gets himself some info and manages to find his team a way into this round. Much better start for MG Minions.
Oh, read him like a book. And we get the second one. Finally a 1-for-1 deal. Now we're back to that 4v4 as if nothing happened and 2 players disconnected in the first place. HP on the puck going to be low and lower as Shea has to say about it. That Vector, maybe it's a P shot when it comes to the bullets, but it definitely packs much more than a fire rate than a gun needs to. And that's where the strength comes. 2 minutes and we already see Crown Zero on that minus when it comes to the count of players. And they're going to keep on losing it if something doesn't change. They've been losing to these 1v1 initiatives, and at the same time, we can definitely not downplay on the wall bang. That's on Earth with 1 extra just to put it in the pocket. In Ground Zero with 2 remaining, there have been so many rounds where just two final players are standalone against 4 or 5 of MG Minions, and there has been no way of changing it because the aggression on defense is so complementary to MG Minions. They can swing around any corner, be unexpected, and no matter the information count that Ground Zero have, they need to have a bit more teamwork, especially when it comes to that drone work. I feel like they just haven't been using it enough. Dropping from rafters, the double with the MP7. It just can't stop. And Crown Zero, only 1 left standing, stranded alone between all of these hungry players looking for blood. And I think this is a round where MG Minions take it away.
That round started off much better for Crown Zero. They managed to find himself the opener off rip. A little fight down here. Managed to find one, but he's shut down. But yeah, that previous round started off much better for the attack. They found themselves the opener. They kind of inserted themselves into the defensive setup, but then it kind of felt like they got ahead of themselves. And they started to aggress without redroning the space, maybe underestimating the extent of MG Minions' roam. And because of that, they give themselves they give themselves up to several subsequent 1v1 engagements, which MG Minions just simply win back to back to back before reestablishing their team play, coming back to site and playing their crossfires much better than they did in the first round that we saw, the basement defense. So yeah, a little bit questionable out of Crown Zero. At the end of the day, you did still manage to find 2 rounds on your attacking half on what each should be a relatively defensive favored Nighthaven Labs with the operator bans like we were talking about. So I don't think it's quite the end of the world for them here. It's definitely possible for them to battle back. And now in this second half, we really need to see what MG Minions attack looks like. But so far, they have really seemed to be the better team.
Hi, Bear. We have no bandit cater to morale. This is going to get interesting. Now,
Mute is wall denial.
Mute is, but I think he's more of that just Timu version. Just leave him down. He's there just to be a bit annoying. But I am wondering, Ground Zero, what are they thinking? This may be ace up the sleeve. I think they're yet again trying to play a bit more of that, I guess I would say, aggression. But again, easy breach on a site like this. It allows so much movement for the attackers. And yet again, we can see the Valkyrie below. She's really amping up any explosives and trying to get some wall bangs. There's no C4 on the operator. So I'm just wondering, Ground Zero, what the plan is. You're going to be playing against Blackbeards. Yes, you have a Frost. Yes, you have a Melusi. Those are easily taken out with just a couple of nade shots left, right, and center. And that's the breach out, right? But we have people playing in IT really close and even uncomfortably close. They do back off to electrical. And with it, I mean, I'm just wondering, why not go for the main breach denial?
I'm very confused about this also. It kind of seems like this is a situation where MG Minions are going to get everything they want going into this execute. So it's going to come down to some really big plays out of Crown Zero if they want to be the ones to find this round. The opener does go to Interlude as he jumps in through that electrical window, almost taken out by his teammate. All the damage you see done to him, done by the IQ on the window behind him, but it doesn't matter. No harm, no foul. We got him down. And yeah, the fight is already coming to sight. Blackbeard is aggressive, is forward, is hit by an impact grenade, but it isn't going to do very much because it's just going to hit his shield. They're trying to get aggressive here, but it isn't going to do what they need it to. And elsewhere around the map, David Speckham finding the flank, the rest of his team hitting the site, hitting some pressure, but a battle back. Loki and Disney managed to find one of these traded by the Blackbeard of Interlude, but then it looks like his controller disconnected. He just stares at the body on the ground. But Dipsy, last alive with nothing but the Deagle in pocket, forced to play around this corner. They're going to take the fight together. Shayu picks it up, but even if he didn't, it would have been a guaranteed kill with his teammate coming in from electrical. Nice attack out of MG Minions.
Nice attack, and I would say a bit more poor of the defense. I mean, okay, working off of voodoo magic and disconnecting your enemy's controller, that's all fun and games. But when it comes down to the fact that Breach was open, Electrical was open, they were turtled up in sight, and absolutely no utility to play off of the fact that it's explosives guns. I love the Warden trying to have people eating 12 gauge for their breakfast, but in the end, when you're up against a Blackbeard, he's gonna shield, he's gonna tank it, he's gonna shoot back. He knocks him to the floor, and all of a sudden the Valkyrie's in the 2v1 with a Deagle out of all weapons, MPX out of bullets, and now you're just trying to find yourself between the sandwich, between the two buns of MG Minions closing down from each side. And Crown Zero, they don't seem to learn off of their mistakes too much. I do like the Maestro pick because I'm a Maestro favoritist, but in the end, the two morale is back. That's lovely to see. There's no Bandit or Cade, so it's going to be a game of stalling rather than anything, but there's no necessarily, I would say, heavy favor towards the extension side. We saw some Melusis earlier, and as I was thinking, okay, maybe if they go for an extension, right, they could play off of the fact that they have a lot of ground, a lot of movement for the defense. That's good. You know, we can still have something out of it. The second the drones came in, they backed off into sight and died. I don't really get the strategy here.
It's like you say, the utility usage by MG Minions was definitely a lot better than we're seeing so far out of Crown Zero. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you don't need to have the most utility-focused lineup in order to be effective. But you do need to hit your shots. And Fleek's going for a questionable swing there against a player who's holding a much more powerful angle is not what you need if you want to win these rounds. Now Blackbeard's able to press forward. He's already taken in towards connector. That wall's been popped, and an excellent start once again for MG Minions as they start to rotate over towards that IT breach.
Crown Zero either going to be just making us fully believe that they're allergic to electricity, or the fact that they're just going to allow MG Minions to take it away. If they get this round, it's match point. That is huge pressure, and Crown Zero are 3 rounds behind them. Now, hopefully this is going to be turning the tables and it's going to get flipped. Verticality not even being used, and that could have been a punish onto the interlude, which would have been the biggest of picks and the biggest of blunders taken off on the attack. Now, a lot of damage onto the 8. 12 gauge coming around. That's going to be the shotgun on play, but we find the Thatcher to find success with some bullets of his own. Returns for 1. David with a second, and that's a 5-2. Oh, Loki, we love the L2A3 being used, but the Frost and the Tuberon left alone yet again. The 2-5, 2-4 situation scenario that we've seen with all the similar outlines and the exact same result each and every single time. Crown Zero find themselves on the back foot. The plan's going down. They're up against time in any second. A good headshot for the MPX, claiming and trying to find the second. Oh, gets the pistol, but in the end, it's not for nothing. As in the end, MG Minions take it away. A bit of a hip-fire headshot towards to finish it off, but now it's 1 round away from match 1 being done. And Crown Zero, hopefully they're going to be moving side, and maybe just, I'm crossing my fingers that at least a Cade, if nothing else.
Look, Puffy, sometimes it doesn't matter whether you're aiming in or not. Sometimes you just clip that headshot and there's a bullet in your opponent's skull, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
True.
A little scary towards the end of that round as Blackbeard ADSing, trying to take the fight, gets his head absolutely taken off, and multiple low players on MG Minions had me sweating. But they do manage to get inside of sight, start getting that plant down safely, and while the cover gets taken out by that pistol whip, he's able to come off case and shut that down, make sure that it doesn't get into any more of a scary situation. And yeah, the Cade, the bandit, being brought along finally by this Crown Zero defense. I think it's a little too little, too late. I figure that's something that you should have kind of read into a little bit early on. You should be aware that those operators are going to be super powerful, given the bans, given the Maverick is taken off the board. But they haven't opted to be bringing it, and because of that, MG Minions have so far been able to open up every single wall that they've wanted. This round it'll be a little bit tougher, but only marginally so. Again, you have the Thatcher on side, and looking at this lineup, I imagine we might see some fast play between the Glass, between the Ying, and between that Thatcher.
We saw Crown Zero get a rush in earlier. MG Minions, they are looking for vengeance. They are looking for one of their own, and maybe even a bit of a Twitter clip as extra spice. Now, we head down to it. They're taking it very slowly. They're not giving Crown Zero that initiative and letting them know, hey, we're going to rush. They're being outside. They're being patient. They're all in one big group, and hopefully a C4 is not chucked, because that would be the end of them. Even the knife hinting towards the fact that an EMP is to be dropped, and that's the thermite going to it. No one going to be tricking it out. Oh, the players from Crown Zero are starting to turn their heads, and now it's all out. The plant makes its way through, but the diffuser is dropped. That's the first body on the ground. The Glass hopefully getting some. It's a lot of damage, and that's that big boom. Crown Zero, absolute greatness. They knew what to do. They've seen this before, and they adapted in little than a second. MG Minions find themselves in a pinch, and even Arthur, he just leaves. Enough is enough. He doesn't want to see nothing like it. And now it's Crown Zero finally on the winning end. And as long as MG Minions, I mean, keep on throwing bodies and rounds like this, I like the fact that it was, you know, a rush attempted. But in the end, it wasn't as well orchestrated as Crown Zero did it. So I guess the title of Best Rusher is still kept up for that orange.
A very one-dimensional rush with 4 players stacked on one breach. We almost saw Beastman taking out his teammate with that Glass rifle. Almost managed to kill the player. I think it was Fleeks tossing out that C4. But I think even if he had managed to pop that Cade's head, that second shot would have gone right through his teammate's dead body. Oh my gosh, Shayu upper rafters, tossed out a smoke to try and make his way down the stairs, but he's taken out. Last player alive is Beastman outside that breach, and yeah. I think just some overconfidence out of MG Minions. You don't need to play that way. They do. They're like, yeah, we're good. We got this. We're up 6-2. Let's just throw something at the wall and see what sticks. And while it is shut down this round, I don't imagine that it's something they're going to continue to want to do. And, you know, it is the second most favored bomb site for this team, right? And they managed to win it. But their favored bomb site, that upstairs one, I mean, tell me how that's gone so far this game.
I think it's gone great. I think it's gone really fantastic up until now.
Yeah.
I mean, Crown Zero, not the best reputation on it. That's how I'll say it. They do win out on a round, although the conditions were quite, let's say, broad. But MG Minions, they lose out on a round. Hopefully, maybe we can get into overtime. That would be favoring Crown Zero on their points into the qualifier, but I very heavily doubt it. A bit of a jester play here. Some extra shots for Spend. He wants to get the KD up. You know, the KD ratio is always lovely to look at, but in the end, defenders win it out. It was a rush, unsuccessful, and like you mentioned, the perfect way of describing it is one-dimensional. They shoot in one direction, they throw C4s like they did, and it's all completely shut down. The Thermite was giving it a bit. Even for me, he was putting me on edge. Made his way almost into sight, but just the last second before that comfort zone, that corner was reached so the glass could hold it, was shut down, the diffuser dropped, and then you lose so much of that grip. And in the end, while we are waiting for the timeout right now, a player has disconnected, so we're waiting for them to come back in and, of course, give us a bit of a wave that they're still kicking. They're going upstairs, probably. I can assume that. I think we both hang on Hyber, and I think the major mistake up until now has been allowing so much ground and yet again, so much breach, so much everything for the side of attack. So if we change that out, I think that maybe the defense can still back up their own fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's always possible for a comeback. That's one of the beauty of Siege, of this style of esports match, where no matter how bad the scoreline gets, it's always possible to start to stage that comeback. There's no like overarching timer that's kind of counting down how much longer you got to play the game. As long as you keep winning, you can always come back. But I really got to say, they are being outplayed right now. MG minions just look phenomenal inside of most of these rounds. And yeah, I can't say I think the comeback is likely, especially since we do need to see them go back to that upstairs site at some point if they want to start to stage that comeback. Obviously, you got the 3-site rotation, so you do have to make your way back there at some point. But yeah, heading into a rehost right now. Won't be too long, I hope, folks. We're just getting the lobby set back up with that one player who disconnected. And yeah, should be heading back into it relatively soon. The Blackbeard, I think. What do you think? The Blackbeard, I think, has been really the story of this attacking lineup, using that operator to take space inside of like electrical in towards connector and kind of make that connector side attack on that upstairs site happen. It's been looking good.
Yeah, the Blackbeard has been like the leading narrative. He goes up front, he eats up the shells. Again, there has been so many times. I think all of the upstairs floor defenses have worked in the same favor of the Warden sticking by electrical door and trying to swing out for a kill, only to be denied by that Blackbeard. And especially, it's a small room. It's really compact. There's not much movement for an attacker to do besides rotate back into connector. So, of course, that shotgun is going to be doing some nasty damage unless it is completely denied. People behind that Blackbeard using the shield for their own sake. And yeah, the shield operators here are absolutely phenomenal. The Monty couldn't have done the same job because of the Blackbeard. He's a mixture of that Blitz and Monty with a better gun. That Scar, even if it isn't the best statistically, on the shield, it is phenomenal. You back him off, you punch him, you shove him, and then it's all over like that. Maybe the Warden can go for an attempted hipfire headshot if he gets it, but that's only up to chance. You almost have a 99% chance of winning that outcome, especially when it's 1v1s. And in the end, again, that ground, they take over connector, they take over electrical, IT breach is open, rafters. Sure, if they wanted, it's free real estate. And in the end, they can just push through, they can get themselves extra ground. And I mean, it's just taking it away and only up till time until all the defenders are basically eradicated.
It's really just the lethality of the Blackbeard, right? The fact that you have that rifle, that full auto weaponry, makes it so that you are so much stronger in terms of taking fights. It's not the best gun, like you were saying. It's like 3 shots, most operators in the game, 4 shots, your 3 armors, but all you got to do is hit a headshot, and it is a full auto weapon that you can put a sight on, which makes it much easier to use than the pistols we see on every other shield operator. So yeah, powerful for taking space, for being aggressive, for being an entry, really. Yeah, MG minions have been using it to great effect up until now so far.
Yeah. Definitely. Put it all into strength. And yet again, all ball teams should do that. If it's there, if it's just looking at you, talking to you very nicely, pick it up. I mean, it's only in favor of you. It doesn't harm you. And that's what it really bothers to see me go when we go down to Crown Zeros and their top floor defense. Again, I don't know why not pick. I don't know. Again, I'm really confused about the strategy that was going into the top floor. They gave away ground, they gave away breach, and they shelled back into side with head holes around them, with extra holes being open, and they were compromised. There was nothing they could do. And let's go off of aggressive gunfights again, close-up shotgun. There's really not much of an option. So hopefully we're going to be seeing some change. And hopefully we're going to be seeing some sort of difference coming up later on, because that's the only way for them to come back. But it's down to chances, and those aren't quite high here for Crown Zero with how they've been doing it up until now.
It's like they don't really have any sort of overarching idea behind their defense. I hesitate to say that it's not planned out. I'm sure it's been planned out. I'm sure they've taken the time to practice their defenses, but a lot of defenses play around a specific idea, a win condition, if you will. Whether it's playing below with a C4 to deny plant that way, whether it's using wall denial to keep breaches closed, whether it's kind of having a trap play where you let the attack have a little bit of space, but then everyone swarms the attack right after. Ground Zero hasn't really been trying any of that. It's felt more like they're just playing defense, playing almost like not necessarily like a ranked style of Siege, but it's not necessarily as team-based as you expect from top competitive teams. And yeah, going into this next round, they will switch up the site, but the operator choices don't really seem to change. And I'm still not seeing any particular win condition. They've got one C4 on the side of Fleeks. They've got the Solus, who could be used to spot plant from down below or from up above and deny it through the floor. But even so, no C4s I don't love, no wall denial to keep IT closed. It just kind of feels like there isn't any specific idea.
Yeah. And the Frost hasn't found much value either, right? Neither has the Melusi. Both of those operators, as much as they're versatile and can be put anywhere, they really haven't been finding much value off of them, so what's the point of bringing them? Yet again, switch them out for operators that would really help you. As Hyper mentioned, that winning condition, anything that has a C4, anything that has the power to stop out a huge push and that burst of aggression that MG minions always bring to the table. And just as I speak of it, that's going to be the opening that we always love to see. Unveiling the curtains is going to be an RFA, and that's the opening. None other than the Mute. The only operator who had any type of counter verticality with that big boom on play. A back off from the Warden. Going to be having no teammate to back him off, and there is no cohesive, I would say, synergy between Crown Zero. We put two random players upstairs, we hope that they get a kill, and then we back off if they don't. That's what I've been seeing to the most part of it, and MG minions gain verticality just like that.
Yeah, like this is falling apart already for Crown Zero. They've given up the entire top floor. And with Blackbeard to watch blank, you can't walk up the staircases. He's simply going to stare at you and then drop his shield and take fights the moment that you turn your back. I'm really concerned for Crown Zero here. This is the last round of the game if they lose it, and I'm not seeing any way that they're able to get back inside of this beyond possibly dropping the Solus down below and denying plant through the floor. But starting to work some vert here. MG minions opening up holes, spotting these players, using their drones, using their utility, and here comes the flank. And here comes the Blackbeard, and there's nothing you can do about it. Forced back by the grenade all the way back down the stairs, but the rest of his team is just falling apart all around the site. Melusi trying to play vertical with the MP5. That's just not going to work. They do battle back, find one. iFuture managed to find a pick onto Shia, but his position now given away. You've got to imagine the double peek from David and Sven is more than enough to shut them down. Last player live, Dipsy looking for absolutely anything, but plants can go down, and he's just be left grasping at straws. Interlude's made his way over to call out his position, to refuse to engage, but to give the info to his team such that they can play around it. And yeah, David Speckham, easy pickup for him, holding the angle, and yeah, that's the game. Defensive side was not there for oh my gosh. MG minions managing to shut things down, yeah, really effectively on their attack.
That was wow. I mean, in the end, a hero play was needed for majorly all of the rounds on defense, and that is not something that you should rely on. That is not something you can lean on, and Crown Zero definitely proved the fact that it's just not a good play. Maybe Nighthaven wasn't their map. Maybe it wasn't something they loved. In the end, it was picked, and in the end, they lost. As always in Siege, there's a winner and a loser, and we have to decide one. They will have themselves another attempt at the final match today, which will be match number 3 when they face off against Sync. But as of current, we will be going into the next match right after a break, MG Minions versus Sync. So those are going to be extra 2 teams. I haven't seen Sync up until now personally, so I'm really excited to see what they, again, bring to the table. But up until then, we're going to be taking a short little break, 5 minutes, get yourself something to drink, something to munch on, because it's about to get heated. And yet again, we will be right back with you the second we can be. We go. Okay, we're back. We're back and ready for more. Match one was a bit of a tussle. MG Minions put up a real good fight, and Crown Zero was sadly left in the dust with a 7-3 on Night Haven. Now we head into match two, which is going to be MG Minions. Yet again, for a second time, they're looking to get a 2-0 out of the 3 matches and out of the 2 they play today versus Sync. And of course, I'm still Puffa Bob. It's still Pookie. Pookie? Oh my God. Okay, hi Bear. Hi Bear. How are we still looking?
I'm looking as good as ever. Happy to be here. Looking forward to more matches. And yeah, I did a little bit of looking during our break, and I've been told from my little bit of research that Sync actually were also the winners of their match that they just finished playing. So we've got 2 victors going up against each other here, and only one of them can come out ahead. And yeah, I've yet to see any games from Sync. I don't know much about the team, but based on what I've seen from MG Minions, they're looking pretty hot. So we'll have to see if Sync are able to keep up.
Okay, yeah, MG Minions, they had themselves a real tussle, especially in that second half. And if we go a bit more dive deep, I mean, they played their cards correctly. They played the operators, they played the strategy, they played well as a team. And in the end, Crown Zero definitely got some upper hands on them when it came down to the rush. When it came down to when they were on the defense, they definitely got that 4-2. But in the end, they just couldn't keep up. And of course, their race was already ran. And like you said, Sync right now, the winners of their own match. So it's going to be a real tough one. I'm hoping to see it go overtime. I'm honestly hoping the first stream of season 10 to be a Bose Max OT, but that's only hope. We can only cross our fingers. And up until then, again, I am interested to see what maps we're going to be having, or one single map, since it is a best of one. And dun dun dun, it's Consulate.
Ooh, quite a different style of map from what we saw last game. Labs, obviously, it's one of those maps which is relatively easy for the attackers to take early map control, to kind of like get themselves established. Consulate, the entire battle is getting inside the map. It's huge, but at the same time, everywhere is a choke point. It's always difficult if you're the attack to get inside, to get your team to a position where you can start constricting the defensive setup and move in towards that execute. So, you know, I like Consulate. I think it's another one of my favorite maps inside the pool because it's so focused on team play, on working together. I'm looking forward to this one. We'll have to see how this one goes out.
And Consulate is a map that reminds me of a specific operator we saw from MG Minions all the way over to defense in Night Haven, and that's the Clash. The Clash really plays out well here, and I'm hoping to see it utilized yet again. Maybe it's even going to be a bit more of a focus ban from Sync. And when it comes down to bans, earlier we had a bit of a prediction run, and this time around, I don't think it's going to be sticking as close to Breach Denial as it did earlier. While it still can be considered, I think the Tuber Arcade are both definitely to be in that pool, but Hi Bear, do you have anything that would kind of separate Night Haven from Consulate when it comes to bans?
The big thing on Consulate is there's so much vertical destruction which can be done.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes you do see those soft breach operators taken off the board. Sometimes your Buck, sometimes your Sledge, but most often your Ram, someone who can open up all sorts of vert really easily without having to worry about C4s. So I do still expect to see the Maverick taken off the board potentially, but probably most likely those defensive wall denial operators like your Cade, like your Bandit, at least one of them. But there could be some differences here inside of this lineup. And then for the other attacking band, I always expect shields. Shields are powerful. Each of them has a use case which can get your team an advantage inside of the round. So it's never a surprise to see them taken off the board. And yeah, I guess we'll have to see getting into the bands right now as we head into Consulate. Starting off, Sync with the bands, counting down. Let's see. What do we see? Ooh, there it is. Yeah, immediately a shield. I mean, you really just expect it. Shields are so strong in the meta right now. Even after the shield nerf, they have their place. I don't think they're overpowered at this point. I think that they are balanced, but they are something you have to learn to play around, and they are great at spearheading so many attacks. The Blitz here, obviously, is the most aggressive of the shield operators, able to use that flash to be able to assertively take space. And we also see the Blackbeard taken off, probably the second most aggressive shield operator. And yeah, we just see neither of these teams really want to deal with them. They want to play a more gunfight focused game. And yeah, the only real shield that we're going to see on the board is going to be that Monty and that Fuse.
Yeah, although the Fuse, I Doubt it a bit more, maybe when it comes to vertical play, but even then, he's a bit of a rare occurrence when it comes to competitive. Although the Monty, that's when it comes a bit more into play. That Monty, he may not be as aggressive. Blitz and Blackbeard are quick on their feet, and they can be. The Monty, yet again, he's cozied up, and he's safe. When we go over towards that defense, we're going to be seeing the Mira. This is an operator we were expecting on A-Haven. This is an operator you can expect on Cafe, Consulate, you name it. Mira is always almost fantastic. But as we speak of the shields, there's the Clash. Poor no electricity going to be going over to that defense. And like I said, Clash here is an absolute dominant. You have those long corridors, you have those connectors, you have so much to pass through and a lot of walking, right? So the Clash, especially when you're focusing towards top floor admin, when people want to push into admin, they want to go towards that hallway to get to long desk, maybe into site itself, it is all connected by one hallway. That Clash can stand there and there's nothing to reach her because so many crossholds coming out from all those entries, and at the same time, I mean, it's a long path. She can back off, and it makes her absolutely outstanding. But we head into round number 1 as per usual, and well, we look at the defense lineup, and this is going to get a bit more interesting. We're seeing the castle, the Kate, absolutely fantastic to see. I mean, we are on a side that is normally not to be preferred. People really like going upstairs or downstairs, even in ranked tradition, but we're going to be having a mix of both.
Yeah, that's the big thing to look out for inside of this round, is this split site between tellers and server. It's not a bad site. It's actually one of, when I played competitive, it was one of my team's preferred sites on this map. Our top was top, and then afterwards, our preferred site was this this server and teller site, which seems a bit strange, but lots of teams don't know how to attack it. So if Sync aren't experienced playing against teams that prefer this site, who like to run it frequently, they might not necessarily have the answers for what they need to do. Starting things off, they'll try and gather some info in towards this kind of secret tunnel area, but that isn't really an effective attack because the defense can simply deny you from vert by playing inside of Visa, by playing inside of tellers, and stop any plant going down that way.
So how you need to take care of fight. You either play upstairs and you take then vertical gunfights from downstairs, or you try and take the downstairs site and then people are playing from upstairs. So you need to kind of micromanage both at a certain angle. This is why we take over the entirety of ESA. Since it's so close to site, you basically have an early entry into it. But MG Minions, like I said, they're not back enough of a fight. We saw how they were performing into the very start. They were having a bit of a toe-to-toe, neck-to-neck situation when it came down to playing against Ground Zero. But now it's Sync on the lead, and Spen, he puts them back in place, as now it's MG Minions, the opening, the first one of the match, and it's none other than the Ying. Following through, that's the MP7, and that's 2 off the board. First round, and Sync are already falling behind, but not only to guns, they're going down to C4s, pounds of explosives, managing to find themselves onto the kill feed, as the only 2 left remaining are soft supports. And well, while the Hibana does have breach, it's not that big boom that the exothermic delivers.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
We talked a lot last game about MG Minions, about their defense, and about how there was so much thought that was seemingly put into the way they play on the defensive side. I think that's absolutely still the case here inside of this round. They've got P players in positions where they can effectively shut things down no matter what it is that Sync tries to do. And Sync, they tried a couple of solo plays, it didn't quite work out for them. Now they're heading in towards site. They do manage to walk a player down these the server stairs here in through electrical, and another one dropping the hatch, manages to take the head off of Interlude, finds one for himself, but 45 seconds remaining. It is really starting to get down into that dicey time territory. Positions known, spotted by the VP, and we see Pizza just looking to try and find anything. Spen actually hits a flank, jumping out the Visa window, and now the last player's position, Pizza, just stuck under this hatch. He's got nowhere to go. He's being pressed from all sides, above, below, side, left, right, and he's taken out by the swings from the attack, or from the defense.
Oh, MG Minions take it on very early, and that's again really dominant. I mean, the fact they take on 1v1s even on top floor, and anticipated play everything. Even when the flash came through, Interlude, he knew the position, his sixth sense was kicking in, and that How found him the third. I mean, the replay right now is going absolutely off, and MG Minions found themselves in the 5-2. Maybe a kill was dropped due to wrong footing and stepping in the wrong direction, but Sync couldn't punish, and in time they found out themselves that it was all hopeless, and now we're up to that top floor. You know, Hi Bear, you like playing top floor and then going towards tellers. They're going to do the vice versa, but it's still these two sides that seem to be a bit more team favorites. And now with Sync on the attack. Hopefully they're going to be having a bit more of a better run, as MG Minions at the current, they seem to be strong. And yet again, it's the very first round, right? The first 3-4 I would consider just a bit of a learning curve to get these teams warmed up to each other and see how they really play, and of course adapt. So I'm expecting a 2-2. I don't think this is going to be much more than an equalization,
10 seconds to
but
go.
who knows? Who knows?
One operator really
5
worth looking
seconds
out for
remaining.
here on the attack is the knock being played by Solo. Knock's
Attackers are moving out
ability
to locate
lets
a
her
bomb and
get
defuse
into spots that the defense doesn't expect. Especially if there's especially in a situation where defenders have been taken out early on in the round and they're sitting on cameras, so they don't necessarily have bodies up to watch the gaps. You know, they're kind of relying on cameras, relying on bulletproofs, for example, of which, take a look, MG Minions have 2. So, Knock potential to find a lot of value here, sneaking into spots that it's completely unexpected. And yeah, look at it already, an early engagement, but Solo is taken out by Beastman. Position seemingly known despite the fact that she had her gadget active. Great work by Beastman, being aware that, ready to engage that player who's just trying to sneak up the hallway, get aggressive. And yeah, just generally very assertive here out of MG Minions. They're fast. Another fight in towards Secretary, not going to find anything, a little bit of damage exchanged, but so fast, less than a minute into the round, and they're already approaching this top yellow position.
Oh, MG Minions, their prioritization of picking off operators is absolutely exemplary. Earlier it was the Thatcher, then it was the Ying into round number 1. Now it's the Nook to deny any type of sneak-ins or trying to catch them off guard. They're the only ones on it. An interlude, oh, you step a foot too much to reveal your leg, and that's punished by the 5-5-2. Sing do have 1-for-1. Now they're back to that 4v4 situation. Yet again, looking to pick it up, and Spen just barely just hanging on to dear life by the skin of his teeth. Oh, the HP's low, a bullet away. Hopefully he gets some sort of value out of that vector later on. But as of current, MG Minions still have ground. Their utility has not been brought down. Goyo canisters around, so are Fenrir's and Melusi's. And unless Sync start really taking care of those as quickly as possible, they will slowly run out of time.
Yeah, it's still so hard for them. They have yet to clear out this checkers hall position. They tried a couple of aggressive plays early on in the round, and while they weren't able to find anything, they have managed to establish themselves in towards admin here. And look at this. The defense, MG Minions have decided to give up the player on the vending shield. So now that that is cleared, now that there's nobody playing in that position, all Sync need to do is walk into this checkers hall, and they've taken the hardest space to take on this bomb site. But it is still going to be tough. Those Goyo canisters, utility here by MG Minions are looking to be extremely problematic. But as Sync find themselves a pick, give themselves the advantage, they are going to have a much better chance inside of this round. Jaya last alive, trying to engage the player, pushing up long desk, but he is taken down. A little bit of a throw out of the defense here. It seemed like they had the advantage. It seemed like they had everything that they needed. But despite that, Sync are able to rotate their push over towards that admin side, make things happen, and take some decisive space in towards checkers, in towards meeting, and they don't even need to go for play. They just get themselves the kills.
A single push from Spiral Stairs just to completely discombobulate the defenders as they find themselves just looking for an escape way. Just where do we go? We were taken out, and all of a sudden, there's one player left. Yeah, MG Minions, this was a rough one to watch. But in the end, we're back on the defense. We're back on the top floor. And with it, we're back to that second chance. Let's give this side a second. Hopefully, we don't need to transfer over to the third. But Sing get themselves a round back. You know, a bit more strong. Not as dominant as MG Minion started it out with. But it's through, and that's what matters. Now, as we're going to be seeing no operator changes from MG Minions, which is going to be interesting. Hopefully, Sync are going to be there to deliver a similar performance. And again, MG Minions, they play it a bit more cautiously. We saw the similar lineup. We saw the similar history, and it seems like it's going to be repeating itself from Nighthaven. And as much as I don't like to jump in the past, if Sync are going to be doing the same mistakes that Crown Zero did, they're going to be finding themselves in the similar result. MG Minions, they're not a team to be messed with, and they are a force that can't be reckoned with when playing their cards correctly.
Last round, we saw Sync go for a little bit of a trick play, sending the knock-in down below, but then they rotated things over for an admin side take. And MG Minions know that they went for an admin side take. But look at this lineup being brought along by Sync. That Amaru with Case is outside the CEO windows. They've got players opposite side who are baiting, who are distracting, who are drawing the defender's attention away from the CEO windows. But Amaru's over there, and she's the one with bomb, the most important part of the round. The person who is able to flip what team is the one who is attacking, the one who's got to worry about that timer. the team that's got to worry about the objective. So keep an eye on Pizza as we get into this round. The rest of MG Minions, the rest of Sync, apologies, starting to apply pressure, like I was saying, in towards admin, but they're really just here to distract. Don't expect this is where the main entry is going to come from. And as we get ready for this execute, it looks like Pizza is completely aware of the fact that there is nobody watching this side of the map. The lion call comes out, and there's nothing that happens. No one acts upon it. Taking a little bit of time, making sure that they've got all the pieces in place for when they want to go. And yeah, rotating their players over. It looks like this is about to get explosive.
Peach is looking for that Amaru. I don't think it's going to be a bait and switch that we usually see. Normally, the Amaru repels in, goes, jumps out, tries to focus out some C4s, maybe anything like it, but that's the jump in. And old Peach is looking for a slice himself. It's all blown up. That's going to be the Grim Beast finding much value off of it. The SMG-11 getting a pick of its own, and the plant isn't down. It's all exploding. The Goyo canisters are off, and that's so much utility wasted, while also players being taken out. Sync have already found themselves some sort of ongoing lead into the same site, same top floor, and in same fashion, a 4-3, and MG Minions now need to play a bit more offside and trying to push back in. One goes for a rotation, the fire burns, and it burns right, as Sync now still keep it up. 1 for 1, it's a similar deal. One from below, and the other one on site. They need to play this carefully, and hopefully that shotgun is going to be finding much value, approaching closely and uncomfortably. Sync, do you know about him? The Mute, he's right around the corner. Spen, he's making a rotation back. We saw the Melusi there, but no one there to counter it out. They're all on site. It's completely exchanged. The plant isn't going down just yet. The line walks in front, but you missed the bullets. Not for a second time. It strikes twice. Triple kill for Spen. And Othe, he gets another. And now it's all down to MG Minions to close it out. We exchanged it between players. 20 seconds on the line. And this Nomad, it's all or nothing down to the wire. Are you going to be dethroned of that equalization or a possible lead? Or will MG Minions find their groove? And they need no groove for them. They are the full pack, the full deal. Plant is going down. It's baited out. It's Spen with a quad. And MG Minions take it back.
That's all I got to say about that round. What was that? Puffo, I mean, some excellent play out of Sync. I loved what I watched with them setting up on the opposite side of the map, with them drawing the defenders' attention away from where they were actually intending to execute. And it worked perfectly. There was nobody over on that CEO side when we saw them Amaru into that bomb site. Managed to get the bomb almost all the way down before he was forced to get off because there was a player who recognized what was happening. Takes up, pops off case, manages to take off that player, but the Goyo canister comes out, which denies the plant from going down. But Sync are like, that's okay. We don't need to rush things. We've put MG Minions into a really rough position, and we can just simply wait. They've been forced to give up site. We have site control. But it doesn't matter somehow as Goyo comes up the stairs. First, he manages to find the planter going back into CEO through the floor by rotating down below into piano and using the vertical holes created by the impact earlier in the round to drop case and really slow things down. And then once the space had been created for himself, rotates upstairs and finds some massive impact. Fight after fight, and suddenly the round flips, and MG Minions find themselves with the advantage, find themselves with the round, and Sync, heartbreak for them off of a really, really impressive setup.
Whew, that was a real kicker there. Had to give us a bit of a breather for a second. My God, how quickly the turns table and how quickly this pistol is looking to find some footsies. Early damage to the poor Monty. He can't even have a second of a break. Oh, don't let the C4 be the end of him. Don't let there be a bearer of bad news right onto him. But in the meanwhile, it's not the bearer. It's not the bad news. It's the Elda that finds the second. And guns and arms, that's what MG Minions bring. They're throwing it all out. And Sync already find themselves with two of the biggest picks. The worst case scenario taken out. The Monty, the Thermite, gone. Now all you can hope for is that you can outfrag MG Minions and that they can drop some bodies for you, because if they don't, you're the only ones that are going to be dropping down to a 3-1 deficit.
Not sure what Spen was going for there. Decides to walk up those secret stairs with the TCSG out. Just kind of ego challenge solo outside of that that breach, and you know he's punished for it. A pick given back now to Sync, but it's still a really rough position for them. They're going to go to rotate around. They're looking to try and find themselves a gap elsewhere. They think that space is going to be in towards that vending hallway and down spiral. And look, it looks like there's nobody here to greet them. Halfway down the stairs, all the way down the stairs, there is a pulse, but he's looking up at the ceiling. He's worried about the site itself. Finally decides to look down and spots the two players in lower spiral. He's calling to his teammate. He's letting them know where they are, but Solo does manage to find a pick on Interlude, and suddenly the man count is even.
Oh, but he's down. He's bleeding out. He's right now just barely crawling around, and I don't think there's going to be anyone to pick him up. Sync are focusing on time, exchanging the Buckeye. Are they going to go for it? I mean, the Thatcher may be considering, but he's backing off again. He doesn't want to get stabbed in the back right now. Throwing EMPs, a distraction, the Habana going for it, and any gun right now is necessary. You want to go into this gunfight with as many angles covered, watching each other's back, and the pat on the back here is going to be beautiful as it's picked up. That's the Buck back into the play. Solo ready to hopefully do a trio play with Sync. Whatever remains, these are the remnants going back into the fight with 35 on the count. The clock is ticking down, and it's being kicked off the time, as right now 3 players, information at an all-time high. You have still that microwave being put to work, and that pulse is ready to fry you dry. 25 seconds, we need to push quickly, Sync, otherwise it's going to be too late. And oh, this hatch is going to be a deadly one, but is it expected? No, it's not. Still doesn't get it, but it's finished through. David with one coming out the Alda for a second time around, and it's all left down to the Bana to be taken out on mid-vault, mid-action, and MG Minions take it yet again.
I liked what I saw out of Sync in the mid-round there, kind of realizing that what they were doing wasn't going to work. They'd lost numbers and they needed to come up with a new plan. And they did. They tried to make the play down spiral, but the right lineup, once again, this continues to be the story for MG Minions. The right lineup, having the pulse for that info, gives up the play that they're trying to make. So Pulse calls out his the position of the attackers to his teammates, and MG Minions are able to adapt, to circle around Pulse, to kind of give up some of that extended space in exchange for having a tighter crossfire, positions where they're able to refrag each other. And because of that, because they're playing it together, because they're playing around their lineup, their win condition, they're able to win another decisive round. That's the second time that they've won that Tellers and Arc, or that Tellers and Server bomb site. That is not a particularly favored site for a lot of teams. Obviously, it's the one they've decided to go for first, but still, it's one of those sites which is easier to attack on Consulate, and Sync have been struggling every step along the way.
They've been really tripping themselves up. And as much as I hate to call it, the defense here is a bit more preferable, but again, this isn't that huge, drastic change where you can fight back as an attacker. We saw Sync that they can fight back. I'm just wondering where all this potential and hope is going. MG Minions, again, they are stepping a foot in the right direction, and more than just that, they are still 2 above. They have certified a draw, and the best solution for them right now is a 5-1. The worst one is a 3-3, which still doesn't sound that bad. With Sync, in the meanwhile, you gotta stop pulling your punches. You have to get a bit more into that groove and find yourself a good rhythm. Again, we haven't been seeing a lot of tactical timeouts from teams in general, which I would love to be seen put to work, especially here. You lost 2-3 rounds in a row. Why not use it, Sync? Reset the tempo, get it to ground level, and be even once it comes down to pacing. Now the calls are going to be out. That's going to be the Dokkaebi on play. We didn't see it much earlier, but as seeing as huge of a map this is, the Jackal with combination is going to be great. Now coming around the corner, we do have a bit of tracking down, and someone seemed to have been here just a second ago, but MG Minions, they know once they can't win a fight, and they're going to be backing off of here very smart.
Yeah, substantial roam here being played by MG Minions. They've got the Vigil on the top floor. They've got Interlude on the main floor. David Speckham still all the way upstairs, and he's going to find himself Impact creeping up those Visa stairs, manages to take out the Sledge. That's your primary vertical play if you are Sync here. So really tough operator to lose, and he's just going to be able to slip away like ship into the night. Doesn't matter. Well, I stand corrected. Fod peeking down from I believe, yeah, behind this reception desk, does manage to find him. I think that was a wall bang, in fact. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Does manage to find the pick for himself, and things looking a little better here for Sync. But time is not on their side, and they're still up on the top floor. Folks, this is a basement defense, and they need to get themselves into a better position if they want any chance inside of this round.
There's so much utility. They need to scoop through find themselves away or around, yet the Deimos is still finding death marks. The verticality isn't necessarily a bad choice, but your entire utility lineup works off of the fact that you try to clear players, and that's what you're doing great. We see the Jackal layer again finding itself a second time. Do we get a third? Yes, we do! Nerd, no nerd. He's an absolute unit, and he finds it. Sync back on the lead. Now you don't lose it, and you find yourself a very good round. C4 coming out. Gonna be a bit awkward. Doesn't claim anything, and the TCSG is back on hand. Now, no one's gonna be peeking out just too greedily. The Deimos, he waits. He knows he's not in a position to win this fight. There's two people watching the yellow side, Interlude and the Cade, both playing very aggressively because MG minions here, they need that aggression. They need to win from 1v1s and turn it to their side. That's the first. The revolver out, ready for Midwestern fights. 10 seconds, counting down. It's the red mark, and with the red mark comes out the death. That's indicated by Nerd. Gets one with the revolver, the second one for the long shot. Sync finally find themselves amidst all this chaos. Get it up, pick it up, and now they have a bit more of a grasp over the situation.
What are we doing, MG Minions? You have the advantage. They haven't opened breach. They haven't opened hatch. You have 4 players inside of sight, and they need to push choke points. Set crossfires on the choke. It's so easy, but instead, they decide to walk multiple players up staircases for seemingly no reason, and they are punished time after time. Once you have the advantage, you play around your advantage, and MG Minions seem to have forgotten that fundamental inside of that round, and they find themselves punished because of it. And this is despite the fact that they were almost bailed out by Case being dropped outside of breach, and all 3 of the remaining sync players trapped inside of yellow. They couldn't even get to Case in time. All Minions needed to do was stay alive. But no, they take fight, they swing, they put themselves in positions where they can be killed, and they end up being punished because of it. I've been impressed with MG Minions so far today, but that round was difficult to watch.
It wasn't a highlight. That's to say the least. It definitely was not the best. Like you said, MG Minions have been really good. They've been consistent, right? They've been doing good. But the fact that 2 players go up and down in a similar fashion, the fact that their entire grave is dug in a similar way by Sync, who just simply do one thing: hold an angle. It's a simple command. You just put it in and you think about it in a long way, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the back. It's such an easy way of getting out, and yet again, that punishment play has been working out for both teams. While the MG Minions still find themselves 1 round ahead, that could be changing if they don't change it up themselves. Now, the Bravo pick on this map is absolute beauty yet again. Who needs any dedicated flank denial when you have the enemy cams hacked up? When you look to maybe even get some Lucy's, Fenrir's under the belt, and that's what that Brava provides. Also the Grim as well. Execution operators are fantastic, but most of the times they weren't needed, because what's needed right now for MG Minions is to stop losing heads. Your heads are being served on a platter, and while you exchange it out for 1, you've lost out on the profit with 3, and only 2 remain yet again. It's a similar situation. We've seen this before. 1 more for Solo. It's in the name. He's going in all alone, and just like that, he finishes it off. The coup de grace there for Sync, and they equalize it out in the very last one of the first half.
Well, dominant start to the map for MG Minions. They go up 3 rounds to 1 and seemingly forget how to play Siege. Sync with 2 rounds in a row that they absolutely should not be winning in that sort of fashion. I mean, last round, obviously, like, they get themselves the opener, and I think it's just MG Minions trying to battle back, aggressing, looking for refrags, but it's just, I mean, Consulate's a map where you don't need to do much as the defense. You need to sit and wait and hold your crossfires. It's pretty simple. And when you swing ahead of those crossfires, you give the attack opportunities to give themselves advantages, to give themselves an avenue to start to approach the site. And Minions do that 2 rounds in a row, and they're punished for it both times. I think Sync have looked pretty good in most of their attacks, and despite the fact that they were looking at some really cool ideas relatively consistently, they were finding themselves shut down because Consulate is so hard to attack, except for those last 2 rounds where it just comes down to mistakes from the defense. Now, Minions are going to probably have to rely on Sync making some of the same mistakes if they want to be able to battle back. A 3-3 scoreline on Consulate as the attack is truly pretty rough. Or as the defense, apologies, is truly pretty rough. So, Yeah, got to expect big things here, but Sync in a really good position here to get themselves ahead in this match and potentially even close it out.
I was back to it. Sync are going to be finding themselves in a comfortable spot. They're on the defense. Yet again, I think the majority of Siege players would find defense a bit more comfortable. You don't need to push in. You can just sit back, relax, and wait, and even play aggressive if you do find it comfortable. There's a lot of ways for defense to be very astonishing and at the same time very nice to play. While the attack has stress, you know, you're playing against time. You don't want to check around any corner with your head, so you have to drone it out. It's a very tedious job. So not finding it out, MG Minions are going to be going with a bit of a different lineup. They don't bring the Dokkaebi, rather they switch it out for the Maverick, especially when going to this bottom floor. Yet again, you want to have that Deimos, but suddenly he's outside of main breach. Hopefully, I would prefer if the Ace would to be there, and hopefully, you know, the Deimos to help out the Jackal and clearing out the roam, although I don't think Sync are putting too much work into it. I saw a player around Visa side, but that's about it, as the majority of them are trying to stick their guns to side itself and maybe fight off this breach from being opened.
Just keep an eye out here, because Solo is actually upstairs, solo on the top floor, and it doesn't look like the minions are aware of it. He's not going to be the one who finds the opener, though. That's going to be VOD fighting up those Teller's stairs, managing to find the headshot onto Monty, who for seemingly no reason decides to prone in the middle of a room. And yeah, a second one for VOD, as well as the refrag is chased by Sven. What's going on here for the minions? This is completely falling apart. Sync still have players on the roam, have players upstairs. Solo's finding himself impact, and these defensive players aren't really having to do very much. The attack is just kind of Solo walking at them and giving them really advantaged gunfights. I'm really not sure what to make of this round so far.
I don't know if Minions lost their crew or whatever lead they have lost. It is not to be found yet again. A swing out from the Warden. Oh, it finds itself value. And that's Nerd leaving Shea into a 1v5. So Sync here can continue it into the second half with a very passionate one. I mean, a flawless going in here would be absolutely a power move. They would be showing that they're not letting go. You know, maybe an early start wasn't the best. That 3-1 was bringing them down. But the mood is back up, and those hopes did not burn out because the passion keeps on growing. In 25 seconds, I mean, what are we going to do, Minions, here? We don't have the time. Maybe you can go for a KD save. But the second you look away, the boomstick has its way, and that's going to be the final one of that round as Sync are the first. This is the first time they actually take the lead.
Yeah, this entire map. And you highlighted the fact that was about to be a flawless round. I just want to highlight the fact that it was beyond flawless. Sync didn't take a single point of damage that entire round. They K-tricked the wall. The only thing that was actually effectively open was the main breach, using that Maverick torch. I mean, like, they were shut down at every step along the way. And yeah, dominant out of Sync. And that's consulate. You expect the defense to be having a lot more success, but still, there never really seemed like there was any decisive idea out of Minions. They went to start opening backside. It didn't really work. They kind of hopped inside and drop-shotted using the Monty. That was shut down. They opened up a little bit of pressure onto the main breach, but it never really went anywhere because the backside take never happened. So, you know, there's got to be a point where you, as an IGL, you who's like the leader on your team, starts calling, hey, guys, what we're doing isn't working. Let's do this idea instead. And there was never any backup for failing to open up the very first part of their attack out of Minions. So, yeah, got to see something better out of them. And Consulate's a really hard map to attack. So they may genuinely struggle to even get inside the map. And based off that previous round, that looks like it might very well be the case.
Now it's down to a game of tag, or rather hide and seek. The first one to find out on that match point is yet again, that extra burden on one shoulder is so huge and it keeps on growing the closer you get to it. Sync gets the 5th round. If they get themselves over to a 6-3, it would be fantastic. But I don't think David's going to be allowing it so easily. He gets rid of the Izami. That's going to be a huge pick in numbers. That's what we're talking about. MG Minions, they're back in the game, but that's only one. You could call it a slap on the wrist for Sync, and although it may look like they lost an arm and a leg, we've seen them come back from situations like these. Even if it was close, it was still too close for comfort, and MG Minions, they cannot just play it as they wish now. They still need to play it safely, go to that execute, do the strategy that was intended, because you have all players, all utility, and you have so much control over admin side. Just this one player sticking around this desk with the Azami, the Warden, trying to fight them all off, but I don't think he's going to be able to take on 5 players at once.
Suther was taken up through the visa hatch. Did you catch that? He's upstairs playing in towards that coffin position and just happened to rotate through as Deimos was starting up through the floor, but despite the advantage, everything suddenly was completely flipped. They find multiple picks through the floor and a third entering into admin, and now advantage decisively in the favor of Sync. Battle back slightly by Shaya, but they don't have any boots on the ground inside the building. Look at these 2 remaining players, both outside on repels, no map control, 1 minute remaining, and all Sync need to do is back off. Give them a little bit of space and force them to go for that plant, because as MG minions go for that plant, they have themselves a 3v1 while the planter is sticking that thing, and they can just play together, fight the cover, overwhelm the cover, and stop the round being won that way. You see a little bit more utility usage here out of MG minions. They're going to try and just clear a couple of things out, but things are still looking really rough out of them.
Quite a shocker how quickly that turned. Normally, I thought that MG minions, the second we were talking about them trying to keep that lead, they completely throw it in the garbage bin. But again, 2 players, been a number that hasn't been liked, and one caught with his back of the head shot out. 2 players on each, and now the sites have an equal ground to fight off of. The plant going down, flashes as well, trying to direct the attention with some bullets, and that's the C4, but it's the guns, the ones being put to work, and MG minions somehow still managed to scrape it out. They were looking a bit more backed up against the wall, but they pushed, and they did more than just bark. They bit, and they bit hard, as now they get the round back, 4-4. And Sync, even though I was still surprised by how they managed to so nicely, like a symphony, a song you could call it, just wave through kill after kill and get back in the lead, in the end, they kind of lost it in a similar fashion, and with it, MG minions took advantage of it.
That round comes down to the Warden playing a little bit too close on that checker's door. That front little corner right next to the A-bomb that we see, Warden's playing there with the shotgun, intending to use his shotgun to take a fight on anyone who tries to walk in the door. But it's a solo position. There's nobody there who can support you, who can refrag you. And once the BP inside of that meeting hall is taken down, there's no info as to whether or not people are pushing up behind you. Warden decides to stay anyways, and he's just shot in the back. Really easy pickup for MG minions, and that's what gives them the opportunity to even start thinking about going for that plan. I'm impressed with the play to work together to re-isolate some picks, to try and battle back inside of that round, but it comes down to some pretty major mistakes out of Sync. Back to back, like compounding mistakes. First, Vod over towards Coffin, giving himself up to the window, and then later on, Solo, just playing a little bit too solo, not playing with his teammates, not playing around the win condition, which gives MG minions that round. 4-4 now. It's definitely still possible for both teams, but you know, this defense has been failed once before, and that was with you finding the opener. We'll have to see what happens this time.
It's salvageable. I think they can still try and get themselves some sort of lining. But it's hard to say. Both of these teams have had their cons and pros, ups and downs, and they have definitely shown them through these past rounds. Even the second half has really been showing a similar way that the first one went. 3-3, now it's 1-1. Again, the exact same way we started it off, with MG minions taking one, Sync as well. A bit of a vice versa, as Sync is on the defense, but with the flashes coming out, you do have to back off Azami. A bit of a dangerous game we're playing. Goyo being targeted out by the Deimos, and we do have that mute to counter out the death mark if it's going to be used by Vod. And in the meanwhile, that R4C being used by none other than Sven. The Ash player doesn't need a head box as long as you can find the head of the enemy players. That's the first one. It's a nice serving. You get yourselves a bit of a meal, and yet again, MG minions back on that one-player lead. But hopefully we don't see history repeat itself, because if Sync take a 3 or a 4-2 initiative this time around, I don't think they're going to be letting it slip by so easily.
Look at this setup out of Minions. They've already managed to take checkers control. They've forced players off of the vending position. They've forced players off of long desk. They've cleared the Goyo canisters, stopping their walk up from the hall. They've set nomad traps to prevent re-aggression. It's looking so constrained now. If you're Sync, where do you go from here? What do you do? Well, as the entry starts to come into sight, looks like you're just gonna have to take it. Speckham takes out Solo, and then there's a sudden pause. A little bit of space to breathe for seemingly a moment. Maybe to calm before the storm. The TCSG rings out. Just tons of damage potential, but absolutely no shots connect. And elsewhere, VOD dropped, C4 ripped. As soon as the player walks in, likely to be taken out by it, but no, it misses. And Pizza's position now given away, stuck inside of that box right next to the projector room, but absolutely nothing you can do to stop this going forward in the round. And they managed to take it. MG Minions with a coordinated, rehearsed attack where every single piece of it comes together in beautiful fashion for them to clear the site inside that round.
They were putting in those puzzle pieces very nicely. They fit together, and with it, we find ourselves that 5th round. Okay, MG Minions, the amount of influence you have on this round. You get the match point here, and you can end it off earlier than expected, like you did on Nighthaven. Now, why that's so important? Again, they're playing downstairs right now. Earlier, we saw them have a bit of trouble here, especially not because of the fact that they were doing or they didn't have certain things. They had everything. They just threw players and let them drop like flies for no reason to Sync's hands. And in the end, if we don't do that again, hopefully there's going to be a different result. You win this round out on the attack right now, you're good. A 6-4 is excellent. Sync bring it back, and it's a different story. Again, it is the race for the 6th. And as we talk about it, we can take a look at the lineups. We haven't talked about that. We've been seeing the Vigil being used quite prominently, but Sync have been finding the most value, I'd say, off of vods, surprisingly, who's been on the shut-up when it comes down trying to push down Visa.
Yeah, Solo didn't manage to find himself necessarily any picks last round, but his position was super strong. And despite the fact that like he was just kind of there existing, his presence not having any direct impact on the round, totally could have. And yeah, it's going to likely factor into this round as well. But MG Minions, they've read what happened last time. They read that there was a player who was all the way upstairs, and they go to clear him, sending 4 players plus a drone to be able to take him down. And David Speckham's the one to find himself the kill. Great work out of MG Minions, recognizing what went wrong last time, that they didn't have any cohesive idea, and this time they do. They've got the roam clear operators, they've got the space, they've got the pick, and they've got more info on the remaining defenders. So they continue to ramp up the pressure, they continue to try and find these picks, but VOD does do a little bit of work to battle back despite the info that is being held by the Minions.
There he is, VOD back on the kill feed. Again, finds himself that re, and now the HP isn't favoring him too much. He is trying to hold some ground and always manages to surprise us just a tiny bit, but MG Minions are going to be playing at a bit more slow pace, still keeping this top ground, playing off of long verticality, 2 floor ones at that, pushing down towards Visa, and even looking to extend off of Tellers right to that bottom floor, get that connection, which would be fantastic to see. You look to find them, and you look to line sights, but the only thing aligned are these booms right onto your players. That's interlude taken off. That's going to be our verticality, and that's going to be none other than Thermite picking up one of his own. 3 on each. HP similar between the Jackal and Castle. You could call this a perfect fight, as right now they are toe-to-toe, neck-to-neck, eye-to-eye. You could call it all, but they are ready to put it all down to the wire, because MG Minions, they have a lot more going in for them if they win it out. Sync are just trying to keep it as close as possible and not allow that big grasp of rounds go in. The Dokkaebi has made her entrance into sight. That's going to be spent on it. He holds. Oh, he shoots. Gets 1 bullet in, holding off the plant, and it could be successful. The verticality, the second it's established, you know it can't be shut down. The SMG-11 secondary going to be good enough for 2. And Sped, he just continues going with Shea from above. It rains Hellfire, and I hear MG Minions 6-4. Match point. They claim one of the 2 right now, and they get it within regulation.
MG Minions, a decisive start to that round, and again, they look rehearsed. The first round on their attacking half looked horrendous, and since then, they've just seemingly locked in. They seem to be like, okay, we need to respect these guys. We need to engage with what they're doing. And since they've started doing that, it's been dominant. That round especially, starting things off, recognizing the Vigil was the Rummer top 4, but the Vigil, last round, the last time they saw the defense, was very unsupported. It was solo, playing solo. So they send multiple players plus drones upstairs to clear him out, to give themselves the advantage. And then they start to rotate in to the main floor, which isn't necessarily easy to do because Sync have roamers there too. But it's okay because we've got the Dokkaebi, we've got the Jackal, we've got the Deimos, we've got tools to remove the players. And it's effective, it's fast, and it's supported. They don't end up giving themselves a decisive advantage in the mid-round, but they give themselves enough space and an even man count such that they can convert the round later on through that main breach, which they open up, through that yellow, through the cover from the vertical. So nice work by MG Minions. I've liked what I've seen in these last couple of rounds, and all it's going to take is one final round for them to send this over the line and send Sync down from this match.
Sync definitely don't want to lose it out. They've been putting up a decent fight. They definitely haven't been having rounds come too close. And even though when it was all seeming like a lost hope, they still keep on fighting. Early damage onto Solo, not going to be the best sign. Now, we've seen this before. We've seen him be the early pick, even into the previous one. And right now, while he's roaming, lurking around admin's side, Spin, he's coming around to take his life, and so he does. This all out, and that's going to be the gun claiming it. A very early one, the similar pathing, and a very similar repeat now. As the only thing left standing is Sync with a double C4! Oh, the Cade! I did not expect that, but MG Minions, they bunched themselves up, and that was a perfect target to start it off and regain what you've lost.
Yeah, that's one way to answer an opener. Just send a C4 up another floor and take two players out, blowing them sky high. We do see Sven almost managed to find a pick back on the Fod, but he misses the shot. That SMG-12 a little unwieldy, and it's Fod who ends up coming away with the fight. Now, David Speckham and Earthy, the last two remaining for their team, looking to try and battle back. They've got some time with which to work with, and they have a player isolated. The question is, do they know? Are they aware that Fod is stuck up here? Yes, they are. The shots ring out. Castle position given away, and Earthy manages to pick him up, and that gives them a little bit of space, a little bit more of an opportunity to get back inside of this round. They should be able to open up this hatch using a thermite charge on that top floor as soon as this super out goes away. But still, crossfires, if they're held by Sync, it should be still a defensive favored round.
Should be. Again, I don't think Sync are going to be dropping the ball this hard this time around. They're still super on get out, being a nuisance to this board. Thermite, who just can't find the breach. He's looking for the Cade Claw. The electricity will still be running, and each second matters here, as you're going to be running out of them. Only 40 remain, and 2 players here to fight off the remaining 3 for Sync that have to offer. It's going to be a hard one. A real tough bargain. And unless you can find the opening one, that 1v1, just to make sure that you're in a 2v2 and go for refrags, whatever it be, just simmer it down to as close of a fight and as tight as it can be. I don't think there's going to be much chances. Sync are sticking by. They hear the barricade break. One's right around that pillar. And the Thermite, I think he knows. But he just doesn't want to risk it. The information there, he needs to be quick. And Pizza, he's quick on the move. Takes the first slice. And only one remains. MG Minions. David sticking, laying, belly flopping on the hatch. Not going to be dropping just yet. Saving KT. And with the wall bangs, floor bangs, you can call them whatever you want. Sync there. Take it out. And they're back in it. Only one behind, and this is the only chance that MG Minions have to finish it off within regulation.
One round away from a tie game for Sync. On the defensive side, the favored side, so there's a chance. But Minions have looked really good throughout this half. Even that round, looking pretty solid. Finding themselves the opener, finding themselves the position, and then just the massive find out of the Cade, tossing that C4 up and managing to find himself 2 kills. Can you believe that was still in that round? That felt like that happened ages ago. But yeah, Cade finding that pick, managing to trade things back, get his team back in the advantage, and Sync were able to hold that advantage for the rest of the round. Now, back to this top 4 bomb site, which has been won by Minions before. Twice, actually. Once by kind of sneaking up that long desk hall, and the next time... Actually, I think I'm mixing things up. I think that was on the other half. But still, they have managed to win this site. It's happened before, and it happened in relatively convincing fashion. So, Sync with their work cut out for them. They're going to need to find an answer for the attack that Minions brought along. And yeah, similar lineup out of Minions, not wanting to switch things up too much. We'll have to see how things go.
Have to see if old-fashioned is best, and with it, Sync right now, they really love the C4s. They're going to be bringing 3 of their own, switching it out with the Warden Shield as well, just to have that Thorn incorporated. And with it, MG Minions, let's see what counter you have to bring for the table. The counteract on the Azami, on the Azami, is going to be that perfect Flores, which I love seeing. The Flores are so strong on this side, especially because of that vending machine shield as well, right? The mute is there to try and stop it, but as long as it's not placed correctly, Sync are going to be finding themselves to be cut off out of the work very quickly. MG Minions, same take. We take admin, we go windows, try and surround side as much as possible, and even possibly get some early angles to try and punish Sync for maybe being a bit too close to certain angles, certain doors, and of course certain linings. I think now that's going to be some great drone work, but up until now, we've been seeing that MG Minions have been really strong when it comes to that retake possibilities. As long as they have the time, and as long as Sync do a little slip up, MG Minions find them in the worst of times, and that's how they punish them. But Sync, it's all up to you. Do you find it, or do you get found?
So far, similar setup out of Minions, going for this admin side clear with a little bit of pressure from down below. They haven't yet managed to force these Sync defenders back, but here it comes. The rappel inside will be taken out. The C4 comes through, but it's dodged just barely. Interlude taking the space effectively, and now Sync are required to fall off just a little bit. Give a little bit of space. Back off to that checkers hall, play that next power position. This site is really just a series of nested power positions after power position after power position. And as they secure them out one by one, they still have more positions to play. And yes, Nerd finding himself the opener as the push starts to come through into that top spiral position. Admin is taken, but without that spiral pressure, you aren't going to have you're not going to have a pinch as the attack. So that being said, it doesn't seem to matter because Anorthi and David Speckham double up, finding one apiece, giving their team the sun advantage. And with the Burt player down below, using this Deimos pistol to fly back on the site. Oh, the shotgun, but it doesn't matter. Solo somehow staying alive. Some lift shots and 1 HP will be all that he needs in order to equalize things for his team. Chaos in this mid-round. 40 seconds remaining, and we're going to see a little bit of comp before the execute decides to come through.
Oh, my eyes are craving bleach right now. How did this come about? It constantly flips. Sync managed to open it up. MG Minions return it, and Nerd is going to be the one to overstep into the boundary side. The defuse is through. It has officially found the bomb. Now it's only down to the execution. You know someone's there, but you can't push up too cautiously because you know that if you do, there's someone just waiting on you while it flashes out. It's the Warden. It's the perfect counter. The headshot is there delivered, but the TCSG returns with 5 seconds remaining. MG Minions are cornered, and all that needs to be done is the time to be stalled out, and Sync are playing no games as they just simply wait, ponder, and let it be as this. Hi, Bear. We are going into overtime.
It's seemingly a miracle as the Deimos whiffs every shot down below, and Warden somehow manages to stay alive. Not just stay alive, he manages to find himself the pick, removing the bottom-up pressure that Deimos applies, and allowing the Minions to simply sit in, allowing Sync to simply sit inside a site, hold their power positions, and wait for the attack to push forward. They're able to convert. They do manage to find the picks that they need and lock the Minions out of that round. But my God, was it messy. You said it best. Your eyes needing some bleach after that. I could not agree more. That hurt to see. And I get it. It is hard sometimes playing on the sticks. You don't quite have the precision that you do on a keyboard and mouse, but it's tough. It's really tough whenever something like that happens. When a situation is so favored for one team, but somehow it goes the other way. And you got to imagine the Minions are going to be kicking themselves there, giving Sync a chance to take this in overtime.
This is their chance. Sync right now have always been on the back end, and they have been always trailing, shadowing behind MG Minions, trying to catch up, and so they did. They have finally caught up after the long run, and now it's their time to shine. But this is that pressure, and are they going to be finding themselves to shine bright like a diamond under it? Or MG Minions, will they be back on it to crown themselves the winners of yet another matchup for a second time? Or will it be Sync? Yet again, both of these teams are just looking for that 2-0, although they have both found some nice points off of going overtime alone. Now we're going to it. This is round number 13. Bashi back on solo, and I'm sad to say, but we haven't really been seeing him put it to work. Definitely has been some nice highlighted kills then and there, but he's always been victimized, the first one to be found, and that's mostly due to the fact that there's a Deimos, Dokkaebi, and Jackal, and as a Vigil, you can only pray and hope to waste as much seconds as possible.
He keeps trying to go for this solo roam, and I've not been seeing it have the impact I think they expect. I think solo was like 10-4 at one point in this game. At this point, he's 10-9. He's been really missing from the server for these last couple of rounds. And if we do see him start to wake up inside of overtime, I think we might start to get a little bit concerned for the minions, because solo's been top fragging, and he's not been finding the impact that is expected out of him. That being said, though, doesn't seem to matter what happens to solo, because MG Minions still manage to find the opener as Fod swings aggressively, peeking the hatch, and is shut down by the Deimos of that attack. They start to creep forward, applying pressure in towards these Teller stairs, but they've got to wait. Now that they've taken this space, they've just got to use their utility, start to constrict the net around the bomb site, and let their util do the work.
Let it go free, and let it roam. One on Spiral, the Warden going to be found out with the drone. We're trying to peek out, but this is that strength of MG Minions. They can hold out their ranked, their inside, their I guess you could call it their evil twin of ranked. They just slowly shut it down. They're not going to be peeking if it's unnecessary. They know what position they have, and they want to hold it as long as they can. Even going into this execute, right? Any gun, any position, it's all needed to be covered. And right now with this 5-4, it is perfect, and it works out well for you. You try to shut it down, you go for the verticals. Yet again, the ram isn't going to be utilized too much, but the buck is plenty to do it. You definitely want to keep it in consideration that the Cade here is the main priority. You get the claw, and you look to sharpen yours, as right now the defenders are stuck back up against the wall, looking to find some sort of strength to work off against. A C4, only one left, and hopefully it's going to be used. Tuberal uses his last freeze grenade, but now it's down to guns. We approach it down. The seconds are remaining, and those are very limited. But MG Minions, we need to be quick on the move. The Thermite needs to get in and start planting, or we rather just gun them all down. Interlude starts it off in the post-plant. No, it's not going to be post-plant. My mistake. It's MG Minions just shutting them down one after another. The defense does find to try and stall it out, and if they could have done it right now, this Warden could have pushed up unexpectedly. Actually, in time, it would have been possible, but now it's too late. And MG Minions, this is a really hard round to throw, so I don't think we can cross our fingers for Sync.
Unfortunate for Nerd, as Nerd sprints right over the vertical holes where that bomb was going down, and now he's just flailing. He's looking for exit frags. He's going to be founding one player, pushing up spiral stairs, manages to take him out. Consolation prize, though, as there's absolutely no shot of him winning this round. He's going to have to rotate down spiral, through cafe, fight 3 players which are chasing him, sprinting around the map looking for him, and yeah, that's it. Point of no return. Can't even get to case on time. Will he find one more pick for his trouble? Yes, he will. A fourth. Will he manage to find himself almost the entire attacking team in the last couple of seconds? No, taken down by Interlude, but it wasn't. There was never a possibility. Just a couple of jiggles here, a couple of fights, consolation prizes, like I said, and yeah, Sync giving up the opener, and MG Minions just holding on to it for the entirety of that round. It got a little scary in towards the end there, with Case being dropped as the cover from Vert whiffed a couple of shots, but it doesn't matter. They're able to rotate another player inside, pick up that Case, and the numbers are just so overwhelming for MG Minions that they can simply sit and wait and throw a couple bodies away, forcing Sync in that retake.
All right.
Defenders protect
MG
your
Minions,
bombs from being
we've
defused
seen them
by
on
attackers.
match point before. We see them yet again. Now, are we going to be changing history and how it turns out to be, or is Sync going to be yet again getting that 7-7 and then a second chance for the second time? Well, this is where that round comes in. We're going to be just back onto it like if it was the first one starting out, where MG Minions on the defense picked Tellers and bottom. And, well, we're going to have to see how it works out for them. It was very dominant. They played it off very nicely. And they go for, I think this is the exact same lineup we saw in round number 1. I definitely spot out the Cade, Maestro, Fenrir, yeah, I believe this is the exact same way we played it, so not
5
much of an
seconds remaining.
adaptation. I don't think it's needed. If it worked out, don't fix what's not broken. That's what they say, and
Attackers
Sync
must
must
locate
have a
and
say for
defuse a bomb.
themselves, as there's something that just needs to be changed. I'm loving the Brava edition yet again. I have really been enjoying the Brava being played. I just haven't seen much utility off of her alone. Maybe some default cams, which normally is the prioritization, but if you can get Maestros, if you can get Fenrir's, yet again, that is much more value to take care of.
Yeah, and this has been a really good site so far for Minions. They've won it every single time they've gone here, and usually in relatively convincing fashion. So they're going to have a major advantage inside of this round, and like you were saying, unless Sync comes up with an answer to the problems they've been facing, they are going to lose this game. We see Solo trying to creep upstairs, looking to see if he can find any fights up on that top floor, but there's only one person who's up there, and that's Interlude over Admin. He is nowhere near the position of this Dokkaebi, and it seems like right now, Sync are simply fighting ghosts. They're on the opposite side of the map from the entirety of this defense, and they don't even seem like they're looking to start to take fights, to apply pressure. 1 minute into the round, a little bit of aggression here out of Vod in through that basement, uses the breach charge to get himself into this security room to start to get a little closer to sight, and I'm seeing what seems to be a horizontal take out of Sync. This could work for them. Most of the utility out of the Minions is actually upstairs between the Maestro cams and between the C4s, which are designed to be used vertically, but it's still a tough spot to push, and they're going to have to fight a couple of crossfires in order to get in towards this site.
It definitely will. David here opening it up. He's going to be giving the first initiative, and that's where Sync finally need to step down. We can't allow it to devolve any further. Let's digress. Let's get a kill of our own under the belt, and let's start putting MG Minions into dirt, because if you don't, yet again, this is a chance for them, not a chance for you. You're looking for a lifeline, and this is the one that MG Minions can use, but they rather not. They would love to just not keep it up to chances and take it away as fast as possible, and this is the speedier route. Sync right now sitting back, no flanks coming out, MG Minions still playing side, but that's enough pressure to overwhelm Sync. They don't seem to be very comfortable on it. They try to take some ground, but in the end, they're just sitting back, hoping that MG Minions push into their hands, but that's not the objective, and we haven't been seeing MG Minions be on that lead, as right now breaches, they're great. Fantastic run. Again, we've mentioned it. This is what we're looking for, and that extra bit of seasoning to get yourself an extra bit of taste here would be fantastic. But Sync, we need to push. There needs to be something that just switches the flip and something that turns it all onto its head. You push up, one's onto your right. Is the timing going to favor MG Minions? Not just yet. Backs off, Teller's pushed, and that's going to be the fullest, finding some early damage onto himself. David with a double, looking to continue it down as the Alda. The shotgun up close, and a flawless from MG Minions, 0 to 100, and with it, it was quantity over quality in a matter of seconds as they take it away. 8-6, hard-fought victory. We managed to bring it overtime, which, again, for Sync, it's extra points, right? But just not pulling through till the very end.
Interlude managing to find that final kill from the hatch, through the hatch from 2 floors up, is a little bit ridiculous, but it's just kind of indicative of how that entire game went. Not in Sync's direction. MG Minions looking really good pretty much throughout. A couple of rounds going the way of Sync, but it was pretty consistently just because of mistakes that they made rather than them being outplayed by Sync. So you got to feel for Sync. They had a lot of cool ideas, but if you can only win rounds when your opponents are trolling, making mistakes, throwing things away to you, then you're just not going to win the game outright. And yeah, that basement site, that split site from the start of the game, they were there, and that's what ends up being the thing that brings it over the line for them. I'm telling you, it's better than people think. I really enjoy playing that site. And I think especially against teams who might not be as experienced, who aren't necessarily at the top of what their respective leagues, they might have a little bit of trouble coming up with answers to the problems that you set up.
But yeah, just like that. Like we did match 1 and match 2 as we saw it go from very start to finish. We have match 3, which is going to be the following one. We see Crown Zero return and Sync. Both losers, both with a bit of a... Sync definitely has had that 1-1 right now as of current. Looking to have it with a 2-1. Nice shoulder brush. Still trying to keep yourself clean. And going into match 3, it's about to be fantastic. It's the last one of today, and I'm hoping the hype is going to be just about as surreal as it was right now. But before we get to it, we're going to be taking another short break. Yet again, get something to drink, a bit of a munch, and hopefully we'll be seeing you when we are back. With it, we finished out the very first two matches. A bit of away from Hyber. He's back in action. He's ready to go. We are too. We're right now on the edge of our seats for this final one because we saw Sync lose to MG Minions 8-6 fashion. So it went the real long way. We saw some overtime action. It was absolutely fantastic. But in the end, Consulate was for MG Minions to take, and 2-0 is going to be their score for today. But for the final one, Crown Zero versus Sync, it's still me, Puffle Bob. It's still here. Hi, Bear. And how are we looking into the final one of today?
We've been treated to two excellent maps so far. That last one especially, it was a battle all the way to the end, into overtime, and all throughout. So, we've been spoiled so far today. I'm looking forward to be spoiled one more time. I think we're seeing Sync and Crown Zero. Yeah, two teams that we've already covered today, facing off against each other. They've both lost the match that we saw them play. So we're going to get to see which one of these teams is the better of the two of them, which one is second compared to the Minions that managed to take their two maps. And I'm excited to get into it.
Oh, yeah, I am too. And with it, I believe it's time to see the map. What map are we going to be seeing? We saw Nighthaven, we saw Consulate, and the last one, well, it's going to be a mix of all three. A bit of strategy, a bit of a mixture, and aggression at an all-time high. Border is going to be the last one for today. And Hyper, I believe this was one of the maps that you were hoping to see.
I love me a good border. It's an exciting, fast-paced, rush-heavy map. Teams playing off of just like playmaking, each other, gaps, whatever. It's lovely to see. The last two maps we saw, like you said, were both much more strategic sort of maps. They're maps that you need to play around the utility, play around the hard breach, play around like executing. Whereas border is more of a you're finding fights, you're finding gaps, and then you're filling those gaps as a team. It's exciting, it's chaotic, and it's something that I wouldn't trade for the world.
Oh, yeah. This is where you can expect spawn peaks. This is where we can expect runouts. And most of all, the most decisive of plays. This is where guns come to importance. And that's why we can expect also, definitely don't take out of consideration utility. Definitely Mirrors, Valkyries. All of that bunch is still going to be used. But not in the sense of strategy, but rather to help you get kills at times. And that's why Border is such a beautiful map. In its own way, people call it the ranked map, people call it whatever, but in the end, it's meant to be played, and whichever team does it better, well, that's going to be the one resulting out with a win. Again, like always, like all two and all three for three is where we're at. This is going to be a best of one. Today we covered and still are currently Group B of the ESA Season 10 qualifiers. We still have some on Saturday and Sunday, so again, don't miss out on those if you're still listening. But before we get into those, we need to finish what we started. And yet again, I'm not going to be putting down any predictions here. I don't think we should be Caster Curse team just yet. But Crown Zero has lost to MG Minion 7-3, while Sync have went all the way to 8-6. So statistically, Sync should be having a bit of an upper hand. But I don't go by statistics, nor do I go by numbers. And again, I'm really hoping for a real close fight.
I will say I was impressed by a lot of the stuff that I saw out of Sync. And Ground Zero, a little bit less so, especially on the attacking half. The team looked a little underwhelming. No, I take that back. It was their defensive half. My bad. That looked really underwhelming. So I personally feel Sync is probably a little bit favored here, but it is a very different map stylistically from what we've seen these teams play before. Border is just worlds away from the Consulate, especially. That map is big and it's spread apart and it's choke points of galore, whereas Border's all the aggression and team fights and stuff like that. So we don't really have anything to go off of, but this little bit that we do have to work with, I'm saying really favors Sync. They've looked coordinated. They look like they have really good ideas behind their defenses and their attacks. And I'm excited to see what they pull off on this next map.
Yeah, we're hoping to see some new tricks. We've seen all that has been pulled out, and both of these teams, while Sync has, I think they've been a bit more consistent. I've seen a lot more mistakes when it comes down to how Crown Zero played again, especially on that Nighthaven defense. I just didn't like the top floor. I'm sorry. I don't like to necessarily call it out, but I won't sugarcoat it either. It was definitely poor, and in the end, it definitely proved that through the points that were given and the rounds that were taken, but that was in the past. The time moves on, and so do we, as we head into match number 3, the last one of today, and the last one of the second qualifiers of ESA Season X. It's going to be Ground Zero facing Sync in a battle for it all. And we already see the opening ban here. It's going to be none other than the Blackbeard, because who likes themselves a shield to go up against?
And we've seen a shield ban now in all 3 of the maps. At least 1. 2 on Consulate, 2 on Border. Possibly.
3 on Consulate. Don't forget about the Clash.
Oh, that's right. I did forget about the Clash. But yeah, 2 on Border as well. Border, a map that personally I don't think the shields find the same value in, as opposed to some of the other maps in the pool where, you know, you get a lot of value out of a Monty, out of a Blackbeard being able to take map control. Border, all the entries are crossfires. You're not really kind of stacking up and walking in with the shield the same way you are on other maps. They're still powerful, don't get me wrong, but I think maybe slightly less valuable here. They're taken off the board though. Doesn't matter. Won't be affecting the game nearly as much. What will be a really big and consequential ban is this zombie being taken off the board. Her gadget to set up Kiba barriers all around CCTV room in particular on Border is hugely impactful to almost every site on the map. So her being gone is going to make the defensive's job of holding that space a lot more difficult, make it possible for the attack to kind of walk in and fight players who are on expected, predictable angles, not angles that were created by those Kibas.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
The zombie here is going to be really releasing some pressure off of these attackers as they get rid of it. I think Sync here just don't want to play against it, especially when going into their own first half, and they can definitely go without it, so they were comfortable with getting her out. Well, Crown Zero just don't want the mirror. They don't need to work off of her. They're good without her, and with it, we're going to be going into round number 1. We take a look at the lineups, and as much as we can glare out attack right now, they can switch, they can six-pack as much as they want. For Crown Zero, they are stuck and locked, with the Mutant Melusi being quite common, the Castle as well, nothing out of the ordinary. The Frost is what I'm looking to get some value out of, and especially Chanky Kang himself on Dipsy, which not only packs a punch on that LMG and the Bearing 9, but at the same time, those Shamika launchers, the amount of time you can delay if you manage to put the attackers onto that last 20-second execution, the Tachanka comes into such clutch plays at time, as long as you can carry him till the very end of the round.
So just looking at the player positions here, the Tachanka, the idea behind it is to deny any sort of archives rush. You have the fire to be able to shoot over top of that archives shelf into the position, which is very hard to peek if you are the defense. Ooh, sees a little bit of toe. Looks like they're aware there's a player half wall. But yeah, the Tachanka using his, has his gadget with the ability to be able to deny that sort of plant. Isn't really going to factor inside of this round unless we see a rotated push out of Sync. Because right now, they're playing pressure in towards CC, in below, inside of Customs, and are looking to force these players back and start working towards an Armory side take.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Dipsy there going to be starting us off quite nicely. A nice little Spetsnaz gun on the kill feed. The SMG finding much value, and it's going to be the Grim, the execution operator, taken out to be the first. Oh, it's quite the opposite of what Sync would have wanted, but now you can't complain. Beggars can be choosers, and now you need to return. You get one, but you lose it in the same process. It's same fashion. It's still one down, and you're in the minus right now looking to make it a plus, and that's exactly what Solo does. Earlier on, Consulate, he's been the one having a very good early game. He got that 10-4 like you mentioned previously, and I think he's looking to keep it up just like that. The HP isn't looking bad, but for the side of the Ash, it's going to be a bit hard going into any gun confrontation unless you manage to find the head pop first. A lot of time here for Sync to work off of, and Crowd Zero just need to waste it. Again, all 20 Shamika nades are still ready to pop. The first one used, you run right into the guns of that 417, and Fod will be the one to execute on the spot.
They knew for so long. You saw Fod rotating down with the pings over towards that mute. They were aware there was a player there, and they just had to punish it. And look at the time remaining. There's a full minute left with which to work. Fod is injured, but he's likely to be recoverable here. I think he actually fell off the roof. Likely to be recoverable here, picked up by Nerd, and they can start to get themselves into a position in towards this Archives plant. But remember what I said about Archives. Remember, the Tachanka is here to deny an Archives plant, and Dipsy is perfectly positioned to be able to deny any sort of attempt here with that fire, and the health on Fod is going to make things just that much worse. We're going to need to see some impact here out of Nerd, otherwise it's going to be a really tough round for these guys.
Oh, it's coming down to the wire here. Both teams ready to go at it full on. Dipsy taking some early damage. A jump in here from Fod. He's going for the plan right in the corner, but you get exposed, and that's a pre-fire from the Belusi. The MP finding more than just one. 2 on the kill feed, 2 on the count. Can we get the third? With the help of Dipsy, they double down on it, and Crown Zero there with the first one on defense, just sticking through. Didn't need a single Shumika to be shot out, but they found the value of it nonetheless. The plant was a bit weird. Normally, I don't want to call out plant positions, and as much as it is nice to hold once you have it down, with such low HP and you trying to bait it out, I would have loved to see the plant go down on casual spot, just on the common place, and to have someone hold you from door side, even though, yes, wall bangs on the right definitely would have been hard to hold. So in that position, Sing didn't have much ways of getting out of it. The line tried baiting out, maybe getting out with a kill, and while the Deimos was tracking one of the players, that would have left the only left standing in Armory side, which could have been easily cut off. But you don't win out the gunfight with the Lucy, and suddenly the player you left is down to a 1v3, and Crown Zero, just like that, crowned themselves to take the lead yet again.
It's just some like questionable decision making out of sync in their late rounds. Saw a little bit of it as well on Consulate, where they don't seem to have the best idea as to the remaining player positions. I'm not sure if it's just that they're not using their drones effectively in the late round or what, but their setups have looked really good, pretty consistently, but they're still failing to convert a lot of rounds, coming down oftentimes to just not playing around their win condition particularly well. That round, it was, like you said, a little bit of an odd plant spot. Archives would have been a pretty rough plant spot no matter what, given the Tachanka, whose fire could easily deny any plant on the other side of that shelf. But even despite that, like, you don't need to go for Archives there, and I feel like the decision to go Archives in the first place was a bit questionable. I think that they probably should have redroned and looked to go towards that Archive side, or the Armory side, but no matter. We get into the next round, and Sync early pressure in towards top east, start opening up towards blue lobby, as well as applying pressure with the blitz in towards that main door. We'll see how they go for that as they start to move forward into sight.
It's not going good. It's not going good. It's Crown Zero have found themselves a knife, stabbed him in the back, and like it, they're not going to be continuing. So it's a push in from the edge, but quickly shut down by Hookah. That's one for the MP7, but looking to keep the lead. Crown Zero have 2 above Sync. They have doubled up on the man count, and right now looking to keep it, but just not so easy. Cobra bites, and Cobra, that's poisonous. Some nice shots, just leaning in towards trying to pick up the narrative yet again. Write their own story, but the pen is still in the hands of Crown Zero. Not only do they have the verticality while it's being tracked by the Deimos, which is going to be great value, cancels it out and tries to take it horizontally. These 1v1s, the last one on site is going to be the one you want to take care of first. While the verticality is hard to challenge, especially when you jump in from window, 2 players on Sync, hopefully they can work it out. They're playing together, and they need to do so till the very end.
Yeah, I'm going to see them try and go for something else. They have a lot of time with which to work here. So, Nerd, a drone at his feet, and Deimos track on side, trying to get aggressive and look for a fight. Take a 1v1 and battle back to get his team back into this round. Doesn't find anyone right away, decides to reset, thinks better of walking up those metal stairs and starts heading in towards site, but position given away by the bulletproof cam over towards blue lobby. No fight, engaging with the player inside of bathroom. Is able to take out the bulletproof cam, but they just have so little info, and Crown Zero have the burn. So no matter where you go, if you are Sync, they're simply going to stay upstairs and contest you as you go for plant. But no, Fleeks, a little ahead of himself, gives himself up to the vertical and finds himself punished. Now, player known is in player position red in towards bathroom, and the Deimos with the pistol is going to work through despite the mute jammer. There's been a few pings. There's a general idea of where he is. He swings around but just can't quite see the head. Will he find one? No, he finds both. Great work sitting inside of that bathroom, picking up 2 for the price of 1, sending his team over the line. 2-0 now for Crown Zero.
Crown Zero Black Friday deals, not just yet. I mean, they got themselves a 50% off on that double in the end. Sync, what was happening? You get the punish. That was fantastic. They executed on the spot a guillotine, no hesitation, and dropped it down to a 2v2. That was fantastic. But when they went into bathroom, They had the wall bangs capabilities. Okay, the bandit backed off into that half-wall bathroom. You push him up, the Deimos finds one, the Grim whiffs on all shots, and it's a thing that happens at every now and then, but it costs you a round, so hopefully you're going to be able to back it up eventually, because if you don't, yet again, Crown Zero are going to be the ones to take it up for themselves, and they're the ones reaping off of their own benefits. No one else but them, as currently, this is not a game of time anymore. Every single round up until now has not been down to time, but rather how many players, HP, and how confident you are going into any gunfight, which Sync, they really haven't been able to pick up that confidence like they did earlier with MG Minions, I feel like. Ground Zero have been definitely holding it above them, and hopefully that changes. And again, it is a bit more into the early rounds, but these early rounds are the one that counts as a blueprint. This is how you build into that second, and this is how you get to match point as fast as possible.
I think you're spot on. It really is coming down to those early engagements, to Sync trying to take aggressive, decisive solo space. Well, not solo space. They're taking space as a team, but it is aggressive, and it is decisive, and it's very fast. I think maybe a pace change out of Sync could net some real big benefit for them. Slowing things down, being a little bit more slow-paced in setting themselves up so they can kind of be explosive in toward the extensions and setups out of Crown Zero. They've still managed to get relatively close in these previous two rounds, but so far no dice. Well, we need to see them kind of reset and play a little bit more together going forward.
Perhaps the one to pick it up. Again, the defensive, the one on the leading hand, and that's the second for the Pika shooter. Oh, 2 is not going to be a number that really favors you. Out from below comes Hellfire, and Hellfire, it sings. Cobra again downed. One more looking to fight it out. The push down onto Ease, but only to be punished. A flawless rounds for Ground Zero and Sync. What is happening? What was that? They pushed in. They were only just stepping into trap after trap, and not a single thing worked out in their way. Ground Zero are playing them like a fiddle. And Sync, I have no idea what the thought process was, but they were stepping into the lines of territory that they weren't, and they woke up the lion in his den.
I was saying that they need to slow things down and do a bit of a better job setting up. Obviously, they can't hear me, but it's like they really took that as an affront and decided to do the exact opposite. Sync getting very aggressive early on and kind of not even doing it as a team. We saw multiple players engage in 1v1 fights over towards East, over inside of Armory, over inside of Archives, and none of the fights go their way. And sometimes that's how it goes. When you are taking solo fights, if none of you win your fights, then it just looks awful. Obviously, if they'd won one of those fights, I think they would have had a little bit more of an opener to work with. But so far, they've been getting shut down at every entry. And it just looks like there's some frustration starting to build on the side of Sync as we head into this fourth round of their attacking half, and they found absolutely nothing.
Attackers are moving out to
Zero on the
locate a
budget.
bomb and defuse
They're
it.
being backed off. Now, Ground Zero, great first half. They've already found themselves value, and like they say, only up from here, right? For Sync, it can't go any lower, and they have nothing to lose, essentially, besides a possible 3v3, which, if you can manage to capitalize off of it, perfect. Thumbs up. Get it. It's your play, you know? Props to you. But in the end, if you can't, Ground Zero are going to be looking golden. They're going to be looking golden as they continue just stomping on you foot by foot. And round 4 now with it. Early push from Sync. They try to find some early establishment with it due to the fact that, you know, they're going and breaking barricades, creating openings for themselves, trying to apply some early pressure to make feel like Ground Zero need to take initiative, but they do, and that's what works out against them. Hookah, the very much of a lead-up player, he has been really good on kills, 5-2. He's been out there, he's been outstanding, but he's standing 6 foot under as of current, or rather laying in his casket. Right now trying to peek out. Ground Zero are playing a bit too greedily, and although they don't seem to be punishing just as much as I talk about it, Loki gets out, he puts it into his own hands, the wallbangs aren't coming through, a quick backup from the castle, and now it's down to a 4-4.
Yeah, a bit better here out of Sync. They managed to find themselves the opener, but it is traded back. That's crucial for Ground Zero because they're able to continue to fight and continue to contest this space. They don't need to give anything up yet. And oh, the timing! The nade gets ready to be thrown out at the exact moment as Smoke swings with his back turn. Looks like Gypsy for a second forgot that doorway was open, but by some miracle managed to escape with his life. all is well that ends well, right? He lives to fight another day. Some Deimos tracks coming through out of Nerd, looking to try and push up those east stairs as they get ready to push in towards the cat and start to move in towards their execute.
It's all or nothing here. Ground Zero looking to just keep up this flawless streak. Down to a 4-0, and oh, that's a missed opportunity. Backs off the Deimos, one step behind, and it's gonna be a death certificate. Oh, we have 4 players on one side. Ground Zero here looking to play off of it. And while the Deimos is being very cautious about this office side, he's just swinging around these footholds, hoping to not get found themselves. Going to reload back up on that magazine. Shots out, going to be letting know someone's on sandwich window. Lanine scan is out, but no repellent yet. Trying to confirm it, but doesn't have that, I guess, ground. There's really no ground here for Sync. They're playing off of it, but in the end, they're still getting shut down. There's no opening for the line, but that could be it. He looks for the 417 on the cutoff, not going to be finding success, and now it's close range against an SMG. Dipsy could be the one winning it out. Closes up on the grenade and gets taken out by it. If this is a way for Sync to win it, they don't get the down. The only one left standing outside of offices, and that's just how it goes. Archives right now, no contested. 3 seconds remain, and Sync, for the 4th time in a row, they lose it out, as I'm still wondering what happened with that grenade kill.
What happened to Dipsy? The grenade kill is just the end of it, but Dipsy should have been punished like 3 times inside of that round. First, sprinting out and peeking with his back turned to his opponent. Next, prone on the feet holes, and then seemingly just getting away with murder as he sprints right in front of the player on the rappel. I'm beyond myself. I don't even know what to say. But yeah, he manages to stay up, manages to prevent
Attackers need to locate
Sync
and
from
defuse bombs.
getting themselves an advantage inside of that round. And Ground Zero up 4 out of 6 so far. They're looking good. I mean, that round was a little messy, but they're looking good overall. And I mean, yeah, Sync, nightmare for them. You just see things getting worse and worse, trying to battle back, but everything you try just gets shut down. You need to see something different out of them. And that round, they did slow things down. They did try something else, a little bit of a pace change, and I'd say it worked a lot better. It didn't quite work, so hopefully they don't return to the over-aggression that we saw in the first couple of rounds. Hopefully they learned that that was actually the closest they've been and play around that idea of slowing things down and executing, because I think it really is their only chance.
Attackers' objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
It's the only way of getting at. I don't see much of a different path. It all leads in a similar direction, but there's infinite chances and only a limited amount of possibilities for this to turn out. And Sync here, they have been left down to 2 rounds at max, which is a count that isn't huge. It's not big, it's quite small. So hoping to not end up with a 5-1 or a 6-0, this round is going to be extremely important for them. Ground Zero, again, same goes for them. They can easily finish it out faster than to be expected and just go on a 6-0, flawless it out, maybe even a 7 if they manage to have some success on attack. But overall, this is border. Defense does have a bit of an upper hand. I would say mostly because, yet again, it's just the fact that aggression really complements the fact that you can play around any nook and cranny and just swing out at times and get away with it, as we saw in the prior round by Dipsy, for example. 2 minutes, counting up. Again, looking to find yourself an entry. Verticals here are going to be needed. Earlier, we saw that not taking those verticals was a huge blunder. The ace steps in. That's going to be your defuse, and while though he's right below or above verticality, taking some early damage, he backs off, and it's as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah, ace surviving is big because you want that hard breach for later on inside of this round in order to open up the hatches and start to apply pressure in towards site. But it's not going to matter if you can't get into the space above site. Some pressure in towards Fountain, but the Warden's here, and he's not blind. He's got the goggles, but he's taken out as Solo pushes forward and manages to find 2 for himself in through that office, in through Fountain. But the pieces fall, and all of a sudden, it is a 3v2. Ground Zero with the advantage. Solo's been going huge. Pizza's been struggling. We're going to need to see something out of him if his team, if Sync want to get themselves around here. And he creeps forward slowly, meticulously, down metal. His sound covered by the shotgun. He manages to find one, but traded Hookah in position, ready to cover his teammate despite the fact that Dipsy is dropped. It doesn't matter because Solo is last alive. He's going to go for a drop, aggressive, falling in towards site, hitting the ballistic, his position given away. Resetting, looking for one, spots a player, manages to survive, crucially, but hits the reload, and is going to take his time. He's going to escalate the fights. Finds one, The headshot onto Hookah, and the last player's position is known. We see the yellow ping going out. He gets on a drone, and Loki with the wall bang manages to find the player. Inexplicable drone play out of the final attacker, and Solo taken down. Keeping it close, but Crown Zero going up 5-0.
Holy, Solo's lives flashed before his eyes with that. He got on the drone, he saw the castle swinging, he must have been screaming in voice chat, but nonetheless, he does not manage to panic out with it. A 5-0 is still imminent, and Crown Zero in their first half are looking as strong as ever. Nothing to stop them in their tracks. There is no break on these players until the very end, even though the fact that they were isolated from a 2v1 to a 1v1, which was a very dangerous, and I mean really dangerous position to put yourself in. Again, swinging out for no reason from Passport, just play it safely. Don't swing. You can play time. The attackers have to push you or go for a plan themselves, and that's when you go for that crosshole. That's when you go for that refrag, which we didn't see, but in the end, it's a round nonetheless. We're going to keep that in the past. We don't talk about it for now, but round 6 is here. This is the last one of the first half, and High Bear, if we see a 6-0 here, I'm not going to be having much hope for Sync.
I can't lie, I'm already not liking their odds. It feels like we're casting their demise. Like, 5-0 on the board right now is brutal. It's not even close. And that's despite the fact that there's been some relatively close rounds. I think there's 2 rounds that have come down to a 1v1. They haven't been able to get it over the line. Whoa, they haven't been able to get it over the line. And you know, if you're not converting rounds, then you're not winning, because that's the thing that matters. It doesn't matter if you're getting kills. It doesn't matter if it's close. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And this is Siege we're talking about, baby. Something completely different. They need something here. And if they aren't able to find themselves at least 1 round, I have 0 faith in Sync on the defense.
I have to join you along with it. If I were to put my money on anyone right now, Crown Zero would be the one to cash out with. Sync right now have found themselves backed up into a corner. Into a corner called 5-0. But right now, he scrapes away with 1. Pizza getting a slice of his own and looking to push up. Maybe bake one for himself. He's gotten the cooking on, but right now there's still 4 players standing in his way. And will he be the one to finally step up to the task and turn Sync on its head? In a good way, of course. Crown Zero here have lost out on 1. They look out to take out that Sentry who has found himself, or actually the Striker. I always mix them up. They're the same basically. But still, the attacker right now taking a lot of damage. 1 for 1. Pizza goes over to a damage, and that's going to be the MP5, the first one to claim it. Hookah gets away with it just last second. HP barely hanging on by the skin of his teeth, and right now Sync just have to bite the bullet. They're up against 4. They have 1 away from death by a single bullet, and as long as they can connect it and not run into Dipsy, who's still upstairs, and I'm not sure if he has been found. There is definitely some sort of sneaking suspicion by Nerd, and he has caught onto his gaze, just holding him by, but he's wasting seconds, and that is the main objective of a roamer, as he's doing that objective quite nicely. But low-key with the C4, a predict from Nerd, reading him like a book. The wall bank is absolutely ludicrous, but gets it nonetheless. And Ground Zero, while they lose it out for 1, that 1 they lost themselves could have been just stopped by the mute standing still.
Gotta feel for Sync on this entry upstairs. There was multiple times where they missed a player by a couple of milliseconds over towards east, over towards office, but the pieces fall, and it's Crown Zero with the objective, with the advantage. Apologies. Oh, but things get a little closer as VOD, through that verticality, does manage to find Hookah in towards that bathroom stall, but it's still so difficult. There's info on site, and these remaining players are not likely to give fights. The drop into sight, the plant started faked. VOD not wanting to commit right away, finding himself a little bit of a reposition.
10 seconds remaining.
It's very possible that it'll be read by the defense. He pops off in the wall bang by Locky. Last player alive is Nerd, trying anything desperately to get his team the chance inside of this round, and despite the Goyo fire popping, the timer hits 0, and he's forced to stick to plan. Gets off, saves his life, saves the KD, but does not save the half for his team, as we see them go up 6-0 on their defensive side.
That is brutal. That is salt on the wound for Sync. 1 round out of the 6 they need in a row going south, and it's done and dusted, with Crown Zero claiming victory in at least one of their matches. And Crown Zero decide for a timeout. Now that's interesting. Now that right into the before their attack even started, they say, "Hold up, we need to talk."
Wait, guys, I think something's going wrong. I mean, I guess it's good to want to talk through and see if you can come up with a plan to start to make this comeback happen. But it's 6-0, guys. I feel like you needed to do this ages ago. You gotta feel for Sync here. It's Crown Zero who took the timeout. My apologies. I mixed it up. Crown Zero rubbing salt in the wound. That's terrible. Wait. Oh, that's even worse than I thought. Well, guys, they're coming up with a plan. They're like, we need an idea, something that we can do in order to win this one attacking round that we need. Obviously, Border seemingly the most defensive-sided map in the history of the game. So, Ground Zero are going to come up with a strategy, talk things through, and see if they can find a way to get this over the line.
They definitely need it. They've been having a real rough time in this first half.
Truly.
Sync, where is your tactical timeout? Why is Crown Zero the first one to pull out a tactical timeout? That's my question. Where's Sync's? In round 3, we should have already seen it, but they've really just been ignoring that talk. And maybe people underestimate how powerful a tactical timeout can be, but definitely having a chat with what's going wrong rather than just hoping it fixes itself along the way, it helps. And, well, Crown Zero, they don't need help, but they're still taking it. It shows that they're putting in all effort, at least, while Sync are just, letting it slip by.
No, I'm so sure that was a troll. They're just pulling up the tactical timeout. They're like, you know what's really fun? If we hit this one button, we can make this game last 1 minute longer.
5 seconds remaining.
Maximize the misery of their opponents. And you know what? Honestly, kind of a tactically brilliant play. I guarantee if you're Sync and you see that timeout come up, you're just sitting there like, my mental is even more chalked now than it was 5 seconds ago. Looking like we're going to see a fast play here out of Crown Zero, bringing along some execute operators with the Glads, the Grim, the Blitz. But speaking of the Glads, taken out almost immediately by Pizza. Seeming like there's a little bit left in the tank before this drops there.
Maybe. They did not like that tactical timeout. Now they've taken it to heart and they're ready to put all guns back to work. They're a bit more aggressive. Flake right around it with the Blitz. I think he knows what the time is, and I think he can anticipate someone wanting to go for that run out, really anticipating it. But where is this initiation? Now, Crown Zero, they've lost out on the Glads, which yet again, that execution is going to be a bit less strong with it. Although the Warden would have been a counter, it still basically goes up against everyone else. The Warden right around the corner. Oh, a double kill here for Sync. The SMG-11, the backup from the MP, and now we find ourselves in a 2-5. Crown Zero, having a taste of their own medicine, as now it's Sync putting it to the test and looking to start it out with a flawless of their own. People outside the building. It is absolute chaos, as right now Hookah is just looking for some complimentary kills of his own, but that is not what's going to get you this round, and hopefully these extra 5 lifelines you have right after will be more than enough to not have you go into overtime.
Yeah, Hookah giving up some space here. He's feeling like he's getting pressed a little bit too hard. So what went wrong that round? All comes down, I think pretty early on, to Pizza being aggressive and going for a spawn peek onto the Glass outside of that Archives window. Beyond that, the rest of the team try to go for a decisive play in through the CC window. They aren't able to find very much at all. Blitz is fighting a Warden, so his flash doesn't do a damn thing, and the support is there from over towards Break Room. Wow! Nice shot out of Solo. Solo's been hitting some nasty lately. This whole game, I mean, he's been their top player, I think, on both the maps that we've seen out of Sync, and you're going to need to expect big things out of him if they're going to want a chance at this comeback. So him swinging out, getting his confidence up, the bare minimum you need if you're Sync wanting to get back into this game.
If you're Sync right now, you need 5 rounds in a row, which is, again, as much as I don't like to call out what the odds and chances with you are sticking, Crown Zero, they go for one round where Sync makes a bit of a slip up, and that's that real pressure that's starting to rise above you. That's that real presence of the 6-1. Sync, you make one major mistake, one slip up, allow one 1v1 to happen, and it goes against you. It's sayonara. It's end of the match, and that's about as simple as it gets. Mostly because you couldn't execute the same type of punish and play when you were on the attack yourself. We saw a lot of opportunities where Sync actually could have coming out with a lot less mistakes, and at the same time, while the defense is a lot more preferred, it's still really difficult right now to get 5 extra rounds in a row. Not impossible, but again, it's down to probabilities.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like Crown Zero was going to go for a bit of a cheese play anyways, like bringing on Glaz, Blitz, Grim. Like, the plan was a rush. And, like, rushes aren't trolls on border especially. But it looks like, just based on the lineup this time, they're going to go for a little bit more of a serious push with their operators seemingly indicating a top clear using the zero actually to gain info on all of office. That's a cool zero lineup actually. Have you seen that one before? It basically looks in through the skylight and you can see all of office and you just set it from spawn and then forget about it for the rest of the match.
Oh.
Yeah, great. No, but I digress. Yeah, operators designed for a top take in order to be decisive and move in towards like doing a vertical and late round, likely a events plan.
Pink's coming out. Early aggression hasn't been spotted out just yet. Doors being broken down and people making moves. A bit of damage towards Hookah and followed over towards that dog, but you chose the gunfight with the wrong person as those stims coming out, nades up close. A punish is through in that poor dog. Oh, he tried running, but at that point you should just try and take one down yourself. It would have been an exchange one way or another. You can't run from your problem, especially when your problem is titled Crowd Zero and they're out on a hunt. They take the opening. That is huge. Every time they did it on defense, they got themselves around. They got it one way or another in the end, but still looking to continue the tradition into the second half. They lost one round. Are they going to be losing a second? Because normally Lightning doesn't strike twice, but Zinc possibly could. Early damage onto the Legion is going to be walking in those bullets. A gunfight there to take out the Ace as the Heart Breacher takes initiative on a gunfight, makes early entry, and that's not going to be favoring Crown Zero as they lose out on them. The Zero pushes in, and just like that, his head is taken off by Pizza. And this is not looking good for Crown Zero. They started it off nicely, but they have not been continuing so well.
These two roamers upstairs, Pizza and Cobra, in a position to just cause problems, and they mutually support each other. We saw multiple times inside that round, the attack trying to push one of them and being punished by the opposite. So they managed to convert things and flip the round from a Crown Zero advantage over towards themselves. Now, they've given up the top floor and they're allowing Crown Zero to work a little bit of vert, but they're looking to rely on the fact that they now have the numbers advantage. They want to play their crossfires, they want to keep themselves alive into this late round, such that they will simply be able to play the timer and likely win the round through that way. And as we get into these last 25 seconds, it starts to look more and more likely that there is nothing Crown Zero is going to be able to do.
Drop the bomb diffuser. Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Nothing yet. Drop down. Crown Zero looking to go off of windows. That horizontal flight would be absolutely beautiful, but verticals aren't yours anymore as you have that 2 count. The double digits now counting down. The plant is going out on the ram, but possibly couldn't be executed right. It's halfway through, and that's the Goyo burning through, working in Crown Zero's favor, and the post plant is out! Oh, Scrapes, he scrapes one of his own. That's going to be a second one for the Amaru, and left one standing. Oh no, it's Nerds with one. Getting taken off. The last one for Scrapes. Oh no. Oh, that is bad. Oh wow. I'm shocked. I have never been so shocked in my entirety of life. Everything was given to Sync, but they dropped it. They just gave it away. This is not a giveaway. Crown Zero just played it into their own hands, and Scrapes, I thought he was on the Amaru because of that LMG, but it packs the same punch. Besides, as long as you put the right player on it, it is going to be getting kill after kill. And 12-3, he's going for a big bomb, and that 10 is going to be definitely early on, but wow, that confused me. What just happened?
Puffo, let me set the scene for you. There's 20 seconds on the clock. There's a Goyo canister popped on every possible entry into sight. Your team is in a disadvantage, and you need to just full send into sight and hope for the best. And somehow, some way, you managed to pull it off. Congratulations to Crown Zero. Commiserations to Sync. We see Sync losing both of the games that we saw them in today. And yeah, a little bit of a rough play out of them. But at the end of the day, all that matters is that you get it over the line. Crown Zero. Massive ups to them, managing to pull it off.
That was absolutely huge. In the end, they managed to shock me to the point of where I was just jabbering over my own words, tripping over myself. But in the end, that's match 3 completed. That's all 3 we had today. just to go over them, a bit of a summary. Nighthaven match number 1, MG Minions took it 7-3. Then Concealed MG Minions again 8-6. And at Crown Zero, with what a dominant performance of a 7-1 on border to finish us off as quickly as possible. They are not here to waste time. They look to have as much time on their Sunday for themselves as possible, maybe getting some ranks in after this, but whatever it may be, those were the qualifiers, number 2 here today. And we're hoping to see you again on Saturday, Wednesday, where we're going to be seeing Qualifier 3, then on Sunday, Qualifier 4, which is going to be the last one, I believe. But just like that, like all good things must come to an end, we're going to be having to sign you off. I have been Puffle Bob. It has been a pleasure casting alongside High Bear. And High Bear, please do close us out.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Everyone who hopped into the stream. We had some really good games today. Some really nice Siege. And I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of ESA Season 10. Take care, guys. It was lovely having you.